1021. Confronting Aizen. The sun was gradually setting. The surroundings were plunged into darkness. But this dark gem exudes a kind of dark light, as if it has a breathtaking power. At the feet of the man, there was a girl with long orange hair. A trace of soul energy is quietly blending into the black collapsing jade. Blue dye. Naruto recognized the big boss in the god of death at a glance, and his body was shocked. He didn't expect him to be here. Who is the person who fell under his feet? Just when he was about to explore something, Aizen suddenly sensed something. A slight smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and he disappeared in a blink of an eye. Not good. The next moment, Naruto hurriedly left here and ran towards the road before. Really? Just when Naruto returned to the place where Feijun was before, he saw that Aizen had come to Feijun and was staring at her with interest. You, who are you? Feijun was taken aback by this sudden appearance. Aizen ignored her, but murmured, another soul with spiritual power, it seems that my luck is not bad. As he spoke, he walked towards Feijun. In Aizen's eyes, Feijun seemed not to be a person, but an object, with no emotion in her eyes. Who the hell are you? Don't come here again. Feijun saw the black gem he was holding in his palm. The breath emitting from it made her a little scared, and she couldn't help but step back. You don't need to know who I am. Don't worry, I won't kill you, I just want to borrow something from you. Aizen smiled, her face full of harmless looks, but Feijun felt in her heart more and more fearful. What the hell is this guy trying to do? Why are you here for no reason? What about Naruto? Could it be that Naruto was given by him? Just as she was thinking wildly, a golden light flashed in front of her eyes. A tall and straight figure appeared in front of Feijun and stopped her behind him. It was the Naruto who came. Just listen to him say lightly, "Stop here, God of Death, she is not someone you can move." Oh, Naruto's sudden appearance made Aizen slightly startled, because even with his strength, he could only see Naruto's movements clearly. This Shunbu technique is really brilliant. Grim Reaper. No, you don't even have Zanpakuto, but you can use your spiritual power to use the God of Death technique, Shunpo. Who are you? Aizen asked in confusion. There was a wary look on his face. Don't care who I am, since you are the God of Death, you should maintain the order of the souls of the corpse and soul world. Looking at your actions, do you want to do something hurtful? Naruto stepped forward and looked directly at Aizen's eyes. In a cold voice, get out of here quickly, or don't blame me for being rude. Aizen heard the words, but smiled faintly. Naruto frowned. Suddenly, the figure in front of his eyes flickered, and a gleaming blade suddenly appeared on Naruto's chest. Pass through the chest. Lord Naruto, Feijun screamed as she saw this scene, her eyes were split. However, Naruto's figure slowly faded and disappeared, turning into an afterimage and disappearing. Instead, he appeared behind Aizen. Instant step. So fast. Aizen was surprised again. He knew that his speed and strength had reached the captain level, but this guy actually escaped his fatal blow. He also appeared behind him. Who is it? How could such an existence appear in Liuhun Street? Aizen didn't have time to think, because Naruto raised his palm, which was already aimed at his waist. Broken down number 4, by Lei. Boom. A bright white thunder light suddenly shot out from Naruto's palm. A long trajectory was drawn in the air and hit the place where Aizen was. The explosion sounded, and the powerful spiritual pressure formed a whirlwind, which directly sent Feijun who was in the vicinity flying out. In the smoke and dust, Aizen appeared. He resisted with Zanpakuto in his hand and blocked Naruto's blow. Captain-level spiritual power, he exclaimed in surprise. Naruto frowned. Aizen actually blocked his ghost attack directly with Zanpakuto, and he didn't have any injuries all over his body. His strength was definitely more than what he showed. You are very interesting, I hope we will meet again next time. Aizen laughed suddenly, and disappeared in a flash. Naruto let out a long breath, and hurried to Feijun to help her up. Are you all right, Feijun? Naruto held her in his arms. Feijun turned pale from the shock of the powerful spiritual power wave just now, and felt that she was being hugged by Naruto, and there was a trace on her face. Yuhi dizzy. No, it's fine, how are you, Naruto-sama? She shook her head and asked again with concern. I'm fine, that guy was driven away by me, sorry, it was my mistake to leave you here alone. Naruto said, if he had known that Aizen was here, he would have never dared to use his current ability. Deliberately checked in the past. However, now that he has exposed his spiritual power, Aizen has also noticed himself, and the situation is critical. Lord Naruto, is that one just now the god of death? Feijun finally recovered a little and asked him again. Naruto nodded. Well, it's the Grim Reaper, but it's a dangerous guy. It seems that we have to enter the Jingling Court and become the Grim Reaper so that we can avoid being persecuted by him. He thought right, if he didn't have the identity of a god of death, wandering around in Liuhun Street as an ordinary soul would not be able to effectively obtain the protection of the soul world, and become a god of death. After the establishment of a god of death, even Aizen couldn't blatantly attack him. Therefore, after the appearance of Aizen, the matter of becoming a god of death has become more urgent, otherwise once Aizen makes another move, he will become more passive. Lord Naruto, there are such bad guys in the god of death, aren't we very dangerous in the future? Naruto patted her on the shoulder, smiled and said, don't worry, no matter what world or place there are dangers and plots, it is unavoidable, but as long as I am here, I will never let you get hurt. 1022. Jingling Court sends someone. Feijun nodded heavily. She found herself more and more inseparable from Naruto. When she was in danger just now, the first thing that came to her mind was Naruto's figure. Hearing Naruto's promise, Feijun revealed that Yuhi was dizzy, and her heart was suddenly filled with a sense of peace of mind. Oh, yes, there are still people over there. Naruto suddenly realized something, hugged Feijun and hurriedly came to the slope where the little girl was before. What's wrong with her? Feijun couldn't help but walk over when she saw this, turned over the girl's body, reached out and probed her breath, slightly relieved. Alive. Naruto nodded. Of course, if she dies, her body will directly turn into a spirit child. Feijun face a Yuhi. Naruto carefully looked at the girl's appearance and frowned slightly. So familiar, this girl seems to be called Matsumoto Ranchu. In the plot of memory, she is a representative vice captain. He racked his brains for a long time, and finally remembered some plots about her. He remembered that Matsumoto Ranju should have been with Ichimaru Silver when he was a child. I don't know why Ichimaru Silver is not beside him now, or maybe he didn't find it next to him. And the scene I encountered just now was exactly the matter of Aizen extracting a part of her soul from her body. Really, to encounter such a troublesome thing. Naruto murmured, carrying the Matsumoto Ranju on the ground on his back. Let's get out of here first. Jingling Court. Technology Development Bureau. What happened to the Reiatsu that appeared just now? It's so strong. A death god in white overalls looked at the instrument in front of him and said in shock. This Reiatsu fluctuation seems to be a battle. Another person guessed. This Reiatsu is almost a captain-level existence. Could it be that the two captains are only competing? No, the instrument shows that there is only one spiritual pressure, and the other spiritual pressure seems to be hidden in some way. There must be a secret about this matter. I think it is better to report it to the captain for disposal. But the captain is now at the critical stage of the experiment. Don't disturb me easily. There was a lot of discussion. What's wrong? At this moment, Urahara Kazuki suddenly came over and asked in front of everyone. Captain. A captain-level Reiatsu appeared in the 76th district of Ryahun Street just now. Please take a look. The team members hurriedly pointed the information displayed on the instrument to Kazuki Urahara. Urahara Kazuki frowned. Sure enough, something strange has entered the Soul Realm. Hurry up and contact the 2nd Division and the 1st Division captain. Yes. Soul Street. Naruto is going to Jingling Garden together with Higen and Matsumoto Ranju, and he is also asking about Mebus along the way. If you can find Mebus on the way to Jingling Garden, it would be the best. If you can't find it, you have to rely on the power of death to find it. At this time, it has been 3 days since Matsumoto Ranju was rescued that day. At that time, after Lu Anju woke up, Naruto asked her about the past, but she had no memory at all. Not only did she forget that she was persecuted by Aizen and took away some of her soul, she even forgot her former companion Ichimaru Silver in the original plot. This made Naruto feel puzzled and strange. After Aizen pulled out her soul, she must have used a memory replacement technique on her, but it is impossible to forget all the memories after being born in Liushin Street. In this regard, Naruto, who can't understand, can only attribute it to his own butterfly effect. Brother Naruto, do you really want to be a god of death? On the way, only a 10-year-old little loli, Lu Anju asked him. Naruto nodded and smiled at her. Then I will also become a god of death, Lu Anju said with oath. Why do you want to be a god of death? Fei Zhen laughed at the side. Lu Anju looked at the two with a serious look. Because you rescued me, gave me food, and provided me with protection, so I want to become a god of death and repay Naruto brother in the future. Ranju is really sensible. Fei Zhen couldn't help but reached out and touched her head. Sister Fei Zhen, didn't you say that you also want to repay Naruto brother? Will we repay Naruto brother together in the future? Lu Anju looked at Fei Zhen again. Fei really covered her mouth and smiled. Okay, let's talk about it when the time comes. You guys, you have to be qualified to become a god of death first. Naruto couldn't help shaking his head and laughing. I will definitely work hard. Lu Anju's face was full of determination. The group of 3 continued to Jingling Court, moving towards the goal. Naruto is in order to be able to cultivate with better resources, while Fei Zhen and Ranju are in order to repay Naruto's kindness for saving them. The 3 have the same firm belief. Ahead, we passed through another district, and we had already reached the 46th district. The law and order here is a little better, and it is no longer so chaotic. And there are also some places to provide people with accommodation, and there are even places where people can take a bath. This made the 3 of Naruto feel good. In a place like Soul World, although the whole world is made up of spirits and there is not so much filth, a girl would still feel awkward if she didn't take a bath for a long time. Since Fei Zhen was assigned to District 78, it has been difficult for her to even drink water, let alone take a bath, so being able to encounter a place where she takes a bath is simply paradise for her. The chrysanthemum is of course the same. Therefore, the 3 of them took a good bath in the hotel, only to feel refreshed. It's so comfortable after taking a shower. Naruto came out of the simple bathroom and couldn't help but exhale. Although there is no high-end place like on Izumi, it is very good to have a place to take a bath. Seeing that Fei Zhen and Ranju both entered the bathroom together, and there was a sound of laughter, Naruto couldn't help showing a faint smile on his face. For the past few days, he has been wandering around in the 70-odd districts where no grass grows, making him really look like a savage. It's still a comfortable life. Thinking like this, he couldn't help laying down on the bed to rest. Yo, was it you who made the noise? At this moment, a powerful Reiatsu suddenly descended in front of Naruto's window, and there was a hint of excitement in his crisp tone. 1023. Arrest. Naruto looked in the direction of the sound. I saw a graceful figure standing there on the windowsill. The slender legs, the slender waist, the towering double peaks, and the long purple hair were tied into a ponytail in the mind, showing youthful vitality. The slightly dark complexion can hardly hide her naturally beautiful face, and it has a bit of wild taste. Yichi, Naruto exclaimed in surprise. The visitor was Sifeng Yei, who was the captain of the 2nd Division in Jingling Court at this time, and was also the 22nd generation head of the Sifeng family. The absolute leader among the gods of death. Yi jumped off the windowsill and came to Naruto. Thank you for remembering me, Yi said lightly, his face suddenly stern. Uzumaki Naruto, I am now officially arresting you on the charge of traveling in trouble. Follow me back to the jingling court. What? Naruto never expected that Yi was actually here to arrest him, which made him look a little stunned for a while. Swish swish. At this moment, countless gods of death in battle suits suddenly appeared around, surrounding the entire room and the hotel. What? At this moment, Feijun and Luan Jujung, who had just finished taking a bath, came to Naruto's room together, and when they saw this scene, they couldn't help but scream in unison. Yi glanced at them and ignored them, just staring at Naruto's expression without moving. Suddenly, Naruto laughed. He spread out his hands and said with a smile, Yi, when we meet in 100 years, is this how you welcome me? Shut up. However, Yi, like a cat whose tail was stepped on, suddenly became angry. You liar. What you said at that time was not true at all. Saying that you are a member of the second division is completely false. Back then, when I returned to Soul World, I found out the names of all the members of the second division through relationships, and found that your name was not there at all. Naruto was startled. Sure enough, the lie was exposed. At that time, she was just talking nonsense, but this girl actually went to investigate herself, really. He helplessly smiled bitterly. Okay, Yi, I really lied to you at that time. I'm sorry, I apologize to you. Yi couldn't help but stunned for a moment, and then he hummed with a cold face, as an apology useful. You are now a highly dangerous element in the Soul Society. Jing Lingting has already launched an investigation on you. If so, don't blame me for being rude. When they met in the virtual circle 100 years ago, Yi was still a little girl. At that time, she had just become a member of the second division, and was assigned by the family and the second division to practice. However, in the sinister virtual circle, she is separated from her comrades and is in grave danger. If Naruto hadn't rescued her at that time, perhaps she would have already died in the virtual circle. Later, the incident of meeting Naruto in the virtual circle became an eternal memory in Yi's heart. Back in the Soul Realm, she had been looking forward to Naruto being able to come back from the virtual circle. This wait is 100 years. In the past 100 years, she has grown from a little girl to a generation of family owner and captain, and she is no longer that young girl. But in the past 100 years, she also learned that Naruto did not file in the Shinigami at all, and there was no such a person in the Shinigami. It made her feel cheated. Thinking of Naruto's warm and bright smile, Yi felt very ironic. It turned out that this guy was just a big liar. She hates being tricked. Naruto also knew that it was wrong to lie, but it was just a nonsense of his own unintentional. How would he know that this kind of thing would make Yaiki care for so long, and he was still worried after 100 years. Jing Lingting already knows of my existence. Since that's the case, I'll go back with you to be investigated. Naruto said with a calm smile. That's what you said. Yi suddenly smiled when he saw this, and the corners of his mouth twitched slightly. Wait, Yi, before I go back to investigate with you, I hope you can help me take care of the two of them, Feijun and Ranju. Naruto pointed at the Feijun girls again. Lord Naruto, brother Naruto. Feijun and Ranju looked worried. Naruto walked over, patted Feijun's shoulder with one hand, and touched Luanju's head with the other, with a bright smile on his face. You two don't have to worry, this Lord Yi is a very good person. We used to know each other, so you can wait for me to see you at ease. Quote. But, the two of them still had a reluctant expression on their faces. At this time, Yi, who was watching silently on the side, suddenly said, Are you Feijun and Luanju? You also have spiritual power in your body. I can give you a chance to become a god of death. Really? The two women couldn't help but exclaimed in surprise. Yi nodded a little. Come with me, I'll talk about it all in Jingling Court first. So, Yaiki and her subordinates took Naruto and the three to Jingling Court. Hey, Yi, you don't have to go too far, do you? In Jingling Court, in the supervision tower of the supervision team belonging to the 2nd Division Worm's Nest, Naruto stood in the prison and shouted to Yaiki in front of him. Yi closed the door of the prison and looked at him lightly. You have now been judged to be dangerous to the Soul Society, and I will interrogate and manage it. Except for me, no one can enter here without my permission. Quote. But I have already explained what I have to explain. I am indeed not a god of death, I am just a high-spirit pressure individual who has strayed into the virtual circle, and my knife is not a zanpakuto, it is just a treasure, and it is long ago. It has been lost. Naruto looked at Yaiki and called out, Zanpakuto's affairs, he must not reveal, even if he lied to you once again now, he could not reveal Uzumaki's affairs. Moreover, after coming all the way to Jingling Court with her, Naruto always thought that Yi would definitely take care of himself with his old love in mind, but he didn't expect that after asking a few questions, he would directly put himself in this place where felons were imprisoned. Now he's really in a hurry, won't she really take revenge on herself for lying to her? In my impression, Yi is definitely not such a person. Hee, do you think I would believe you? I, who was deceived by you 100 years ago, will never believe you again. Yi sneered. Quote. Naruto was silent. 1024. Arrangements for Night 1. What about Feijun and Ranju? Naruto asked again. I have arranged for them to temporarily stay at Saifengyuan's house. That's fine, but how long do you want to keep me locked up? Naruto relaxed after hearing this. Even though Yi locked herself up, it was still morally right for her to arrange the affair between Feijun and Lu Anju. As for himself, it doesn't matter if he is locked in such a place. If he wants to go out, this kind of prison will never hold him. After all, his body is so strong that he can't even restrain the space, how can he be held in a mere prison? Thinking of this, he couldn't help but smile. What? It seems that those two girls are very important to you, Yi said with a slight frown, with a hint of displeasure in his tone. Naruto smiled. They are the people I met in Liuhun Street a few days ago, but I promised to protect them and make them the gods of death. If it wasn't for you, I would never have agreed to be imprisoned here. Planted a place. Quote. Naruto's words made Yi stunned. He seemed to be very special when he heard what he said, and the two girls seemed to have a normal relationship with him, so he felt inexplicably happy. Humph. Yaiki, who noticed that his mood was a little abnormal, couldn't help but snorted coldly, turned around and left, leaving only one sentence for Naruto. Liar, just stay here. When will I feel in the mood? Okay, let's let you out. Naruto couldn't help but smile bitterly. However, he still believes in Yi. After all, whether it is from the original book or the feeling of the time he spent with her in the virtual circle, Yi is of course not a bad person. On the contrary, it has been 100 years since her judging from the fact that Nien still remembers herself, she is still a person of temperament. Therefore, Naruto doesn't think she will harm him, and it is estimated that he is only imprisoned because he is upset, so he should play tricks and punish himself. Really, since that's the case, just follow her will and play with her, as a meeting gift after 100 years. Naruto sat down in the prison, but found that there was actually a big bed here, and he lay down comfortably on it. Yi actually prepared a bed for himself. It doesn't seem to be out of touch. Jingling Court, in the hall where the captain of the first team is located. Yi was reporting to a white-bearded old man. Yi, how did you deal with the travel disaster? The old man was the captain of the first team, Yamamoto Yuanyujai. Yi lowered his head and reported, Traveler has been successfully arrested and is currently being interrogated. You don't have to worry, there will be a result soon. Captain Yamamoto nodded slightly. Well, very good, that guy's Reiatsu has reached the captain level. After investigation, you can hand over the report to me, and I will give him a reasonable disposal. Yes, Yi nodded, then I'll leave. In a blink of an eye, Yi disappeared in place. Yamamoto stood there and murmured, the captain-level Reiya, I hope he's not a dangerous guy. In the monitoring tower, Naruto was lying on the bed thinking about what happened next. Although I was in a prison, I couldn't keep myself here. If I didn't let me out for a long time at night, I would have to escape from the prison and leave, but in that case, I would become a god of death if I wanted to. It's even more difficult, so now we have to hold back first. We can't act rashly, and we should wait for the news of Yi Yi. You're quite comfortable. During the thought, Yi Yi's voice came over. Naruto slowly got up from the bed, looked at her and said with a smile, "Isn't this a blessing to you?" Che, who knows which bastard moved in this bed? Yi Yi curled his lips. In the second division, Omaeda Nozomi, who was dealing with team affairs, couldn't help but sneezed. "Okay, I came to you because I have something to tell you." Yi Yi waved his hand, took out a document, and handed it to Naruto. "Sign a name on it," she said lightly. Naruto was stunned for a moment, and when he took a look at the document, he couldn't help being stunned. Second Division Captain Sifanyuan Night 1 Investigation Report. Uzumaki Naruto, born 100 years ago, has a higher spiritual pressure than ordinary souls, entered the virtual circle after being swallowed by the emptiness, and was reborn in the phantom circle for 100 years. Spiritual power has now reached the captain level and has returned to the soul realm. At present, there are no bad records, no Zanpakuto, and no death god system. Such talents should be absorbed and owned by Jingling Court, and become a death god to serve Jingling Court. In the name of the 22nd generation head of Sifanyuan and the captain of the 2nd division, I guarantee him and give him the power to become the god of death. Quote. This is. Naruto saw what was written above, and he was actually the one who vouched for him at night, and he still tried his best to defend himself and speak good words for himself. He couldn't help but feel moved. Yichi, thank you. After Naruto signed it, he thanked her sincerely. Of course, he knew that it would be very difficult for a person with such a high spiritual pressure to be recognized in this Jingling Court. However, Yi Yi made a guarantee for himself with the power of one person, which shows that he has good intentions. Humph, don't be too happy. Even if you bail you out in my name, it's not so easy to get the permission of the team, so you should stay here obediently. Also, even if you are recognized and become a god of death, in the future, you must also become my team member. Yi Yi turned his head away, snorted coldly, and left immediately. Naruto had to lie down again. And at this time, in the 5th squad, Aizen was holding a report from his subordinates. He frowned slightly and murmured, Uzumaki Naruto, the captain-level Rei guy, does Yaiki actually want to bail him out? Interesting. After the first meeting and testing that day, Aizen became very interested in Naruto. With an ordinary soul, without the assistance of Zanpakuto, he actually reached the captain-level Reiatsu. This is definitely a realm that is difficult for ordinary people to reach. Such people are exactly the objects that they need to observe for a long time. Aizen thought to himself, maybe, he is the breakthrough of the experiment, not necessarily. 1025, angry. The next day, Naruto slept soundly. Suddenly there was a soft sound, followed by a thud, and the prison door was opened. Naruto woke up and saw Yi Ijung walking in with Omaeda. You are released, she said lightly. Naruto jumped in front of her at once, and said with joy, that's great. It looks like you've done everything for me. Yi Yi glared at him. Although the main team promised to release you, it must accept the supervision of my 2nd division in the future, so your future schedule must be arranged by me. Naruto couldn't help stunned. Isn't this putting me under house arrest? Humph, your credibility is too low. Don't take you seriously because I'm afraid something will happen to you. Yi Yi coldly snorted. Naruto smiled bitterly. However, he finally felt relieved. Compared with trying to find a way to enter Jingling Court, Yi Yi's side is more efficient. Although, the price was a few days in jail. When I came to the 2nd team's quarters, Yi Yi said to Naruto, in the past few days, I will get your records and documents ready, so you should stay in the team building first, remember, don't mess around. Run, otherwise. She stared at him threateningly in her eyes. If Naruto didn't agree, it seemed like he was going to be eaten. Naruto nodded with a wry smile. Of course he knew that Yi Yi was helping him, but he had lied to her before, which was indeed a bit too much. Now that he was under the roof, he had to bow his head. However, Naruto was still very grateful to Yi Yi. With Yi Yi's help, Naruto is equivalent to gaining a firm foothold in Jingling Court. As long as he gradually accumulates himself and strengthens his strength in the future, it will not be difficult to occupy a place in Jingling Court. Of course, all this is due to Yaiki, and Naruto will definitely find a way to repay her kindness. As soon as the knight finished speaking, he left in a hurry. As the captain of the 2nd Division, she is naturally very busy with multiple jobs. Then Naruto was led by the Vice Captain Omaeda to visit the team building of the 2nd Division. Speaking of which, Captain Omaeda, Hyjin and Ranju, do you know where they live? Can you show me there? Naruto, who had visited the 2nd Division's quarters along the way, couldn't help but said to Omaeda. He is Omaeda Nozomi Chiyo's father, strong and loyal to Yi Yi. Hearing this, he couldn't help but say, "Don't worry, Uzumaki Naruto, since Lord Yatra has arranged your friends, there will be no mistakes. Moreover, this is the most gentle Lord Yatra I have ever seen." Well, as the captain of the 2nd Division and the head of the Sci-Fi Academy, she is in charge of various duties, yet she would actually take the time to help you handle everything in person. No one has ever been treated like this. Naruto's expression was startled, and his heart couldn't help being moved. That being the case, I don't have to worry anymore. A few days later, Yaiki found Naruto again, but the look on her face seemed to be unhappy because of something. What's wrong? Naruto asked impatiently. Yi Yi shook his head, restrained his unhappy emotions, and turned to say, "It's nothing. By the way, I have already arranged for you to enter the Junyang Spiritual Arts Academy. You can enter tomorrow, and Fei Jen is also enrolled with you. He Luanju, when you graduate from there, you will join my 2nd Division and listen to my command. Do you have any comments?" Seeing her indifferent expression, Naruto frowned slightly, suddenly became a little angry, suddenly stretched out his hand and grabbed her shoulder, slightly angrily said, "Yi Yi, you are enough, in front of me, don't show your anger anymore. Those airs and tempers, right? Haven't you calmed down after so many days?" Knight stunned. Suddenly she burst out laughing. "Naruto, you really are. Don't forget that I'm not that little girl now. I'm already the captain of the 2nd Division. You are holding me like this. Are you trying to commit the following crimes? Be careful, I'll arrest you." In this soul world, the hierarchy is very strict. Naruto has just been recognized by Jingling Court, and he has not even entered the establishment of the God of Death. No matter his identity or status, he can't compare with a captain-level character like Yi Yi. No, what I want to say is, if you are unhappy, you should tell me. What can you do if you hide it in your heart? Are we not friends? Indeed, 100 years ago, I lied to cover up my identity. I have no choice but to lie to you. I apologize. Now you are angry with me and punish me. I can accept it, but you can't treat me like this as a friend. Friends should talk to each other about their troubles and help share, right? If I can't do it, I might as well leave the 2nd Division, leave Jingling Court, leave the Soul Realm. Go back to Liuhun Street and be my lone ghost. Naruto was really angry. He thought that after 100 years, Yi Yi would forget about himself, but it didn't. Therefore, he still thinks that Yi Yi and him are very good friends, and even the relationship is still a little ambiguous. He can endure Yi Yi being angry with himself, girls being deceived and being angry. It is normal, but he can't stand it. Yi, a handful of unhappy are hidden in the heart, do not tell yourself. Because this means that there is a gap between the two. Has the friendship really become so unfamiliar because of the passage of time? Obviously, she didn't consider herself a friend, because everything she did these days showed that she also considered herself a good friend. If that's the case, why don't you tell yourself? Naruto doesn't understand, is it identity and status that separates all of this? So, he was angry. After listening to what Naruto said and seeing his serious expression, Yi Yi was stunned. Suddenly, she burst out laughing again. Naruto frowned at her. What are you laughing at? Yi continued to smile, very happy, laughing so much that the branches trembled. After laughing for a long time, she finally said, "You liar," is finally provoked. What's the matter? Do you feel the feeling of being deceived? Let you lie to me before. This is your punishment. After speaking, Yi ignored the stunned Naruto, and left the place in a flash, leaving only one sentence. Unless you have the ability to catch me, I will tell you the unhappy things, or you will never think about it. Naruto shook his head and smiled bitterly. Is this being tricked? As expected of a guy who has lived for more than 100 years, even though he looks only 18 years old, how can it be easy to become the head of the family and the captain? 1026. Talking Hearts. Yi was actually very happy. After listening to Naruto's words, her previous anger towards him disappeared. After 100 years. Yaiki is also worried about whether Naruto is estranged from himself, and also worried that Naruto has become unfamiliar with himself. But after these words, she was finally determined. No matter what kind of identity Naruto was before, no matter why he appeared in the virtual circle before, and no matter what he will do in the future, she has every reason to believe that they are still friends. Everything in the past seems insignificant under the time of 100 years, but the friendship before each other still exists for a long time. Naruto will be angry for not telling him about his unhappiness, which is enough to show that he feels the same about himself as he feels about him. Suddenly, Yi's mood became more open, and the unhappiness he had encountered before disappeared. Behind him, a figure suddenly appeared. Short golden hair and a swift figure. It was the Naruto who came out. Naruto, they say you can't catch me. My current strength is not comparable to what I used to be. Yi turned his head one by one, the corners of his mouth twitched slightly, and said to Naruto with a look of disdain. It made me talk so much, it turns out that you were playing with me. I must catch you today. Naruto feigned anger and dashed over. His shunpo was also very fast, more agile than the average captain. Swish. However, Yaiki's speed was faster than him. Just when Naruto thought he was going to catch her, she had already disappeared, leaving only an afterimage. I taught you your shunpo skills. At that time, being able to catch up with you was considered great. Now I'm already the captain. Although your strength has improved a lot, it's not easy to catch up with me. Yaiki's figure flashed back and forth in the wind, and the afterimages made Naruto unpredictable. Naruto calmed down and stood and carefully captured Yaiki's figure. Hey! Suddenly, he drank lightly, and the figure disappeared in an instant. The next moment, came to the front of Yi. At this time, Yi just flashed, and Naruto's hand grabbed his shoulder. Caught you. Looking at Yi's shocked expression, a triumphant smile appeared on his face. However, the smile immediately froze there. Because he thought he had caught Yoichi, but found that there was only one Captain Yori in his hand. Hidden footwork, empty cicada. Yaiki's voice appeared behind Naruto. Naruto turned to look, a smug smile on her face. How is it? You were able to keep up with me 100 years ago, but now you can't catch me at all. She took off Haori, revealing her slender and graceful body, and a black tights perfectly reflected her youth and vitality. Naruto knew in his heart that after 100 years, Yi had made great progress. She herself has the name of Shining God, and her speed is the second in the Soul Society, and no one dares to say the first. Naruto's speed in the previous worlds was also unique, but in the world of Death God, he could only rely on spiritual power, and before the Master's more advanced skills, trying to beat the knight in speed was simply a dream. Therefore, to become a god of death and enter the true Central Spiritual Arts Academy, for him, this is also a way to quickly become stronger. Okay, I admit that the speed is not as good as you, but you have to tell me about your unhappy things. It's hard to hold back in your heart. Naruto shook his head and sighed. Yi heard the words, a gentle smile finally appeared on her face. She dodged in front of Naruto, took Yuri from Naruto's hand, put it back on her body, and said with a faint smile, "Okay, then you will accompany me. Let's go." On a grass outside the jingling court. The two of them walked side by side. Yi looked at the sky. "You said, what would you do if your good friend did something excessive?" Naruto frowned and said, "It depends on what you've done. If it's a very dangerous thing, it should be discouraged." "What's wrong? Do you have any friends who have done excessive things?" Yi nodded. "Yeah, I have a friend. His name is Urahara Kazuki. He is a mad scientist. I recently found out that he is researching about soul strengthening, which requires a lot of souls to carry out experiments, allowed in jingling court within the scope. Although I am the captain of the second division, I will not pay attention to him, but his recent research involves some taboo fields. If it is not stopped, it is likely to cause serious consequences. I have also advised I've seen him, but he didn't listen to me, and just this morning, I saw him doing research on the soul of a newborn baby, and he's really getting worse." Yi was a little angry, but Naruto finally understood after listening to it. It turned out to be Yoichi's good friend Urahara Kazuki. This guy and Yi have been friends since childhood, so it's no wonder she cares so much. However, Naruto knew that Urahara Kazuki was a research madman, and he even used his genius mind to research things like collapsing jade. And scientific research is the best way to progress. Technology is the primary productive force. Hearing Yaiki's troubles, Naruto thought for a moment and said, "This is his internal research. Maybe it's a misunderstanding. Scientific research is sometimes necessary. Kazuki's research is also essential." However, he also knew that the current Urahara Kazuki might be studying collapsing jade, but no matter what, he has no ability to intervene. There are many, many strong guys, and he doesn't want to be targeted by a group of people before he grows up. Therefore, he didn't want Yaiki because of Kazuki Urahara to make some big things to affect his cultivation. "Well, what you said makes sense, but that guy used babies to study. Hey, forget it. Let him do whatever he wants. I hope nothing major happens." Yi shook his head. "Leave him alone and talk about your business. Tomorrow I have arranged for you to study at the True Central Spiritual Arts Academy. You must seize the opportunity and cultivate well. Now you are equivalent to having a body of spiritual pressure, but there is no system. Those who have studied ghost ways, vain fights, shunpo, and slashing techniques will definitely not be able to gain benefits by fighting with a real captain." 1027. Admission. The next day, Naruto, who came out of the second division, accompanied by Yi, came to the place where the gods of death study in the Jingling Garden, the True Spiritual Art Academy. This academy was founded by Captain Yamamoto. It has been in existence for 2,000 years in the Soul World. For the past 2,000 years, almost every god of death has entered here to study. Naruto has already had the record and establishment of the god of death under the arrangement of Yi, so now he is about to start his life of study, and he must graduate from here before he can enter the 13th team of Huting to fight. Along the way, Yi introduced him a lot, and told him to study hard and not to cause any trouble. Among the True Central Spiritual Arts Academy, there are hidden dragons and crouching tigers, all kinds of talented people with lofty ideals, and nobles with great power and profound background. Although Naruto's Reiatsu has reached the level of a captain, he is only one person after all, and if something happens, it will inevitably cause trouble to Yoichi. Yi has already helped him enough, so Naruto doesn't want to worry about her anymore. He will continue to study peacefully and gradually improve his knowledge in this world of death. Naruto-sama, just when he came to the door of the True Spiritual Arts Academy, a crisp voice came over. Naruto looked around, but saw that the person in front of him turned out to be Feijun. She was wearing a black antique kimono and ran over excitedly with a wooden knife in her hand. "Feijun, why are you here too?" Naruto asked suspiciously, and couldn't help but look at Yaiki next to him. Yi smiled lightly. "I arranged for her and Ranju to enter the True Central Spiritual Arts Academy. From now on, you will be classmates. It turns out that, I really want to thank you. It turned out that Feijun and Ranju were allowed to enter this place to study early in the morning, and Naruto thanked again. Feijun also bowed to Yi. Thank you very much for your care these days. Feijun feels honored, and it is also a blessing for you to be able to study with Naruto in this place. Yi waved his hand, indicating no thanks. Okay, Naruto, the admission procedures have been completed for you, but you still have to take a test on spiritual power. The school will assign classes based on the results of the test. Naruto nodded, looked at Feijun again and asked, then which class are you in? Hearing this, Feijun lowered her head slightly. Yui said with a disappointed face, my spiritual power is the weakest, so I was assigned to class Ding 4. Quote. Yi explained from the side, before new students enter the school, they will be assigned to 4 distinct classes after being tested. They are A, B, C, and D. Class A is the place where the best talents gather, and Class B is the second. And so on. Generally speaking, there is only one Class A, and there are many other classes. After all, there are only a few people with extraordinary talents. I was a Class A person back then. Quote. So that's the case, which class is that Lu Anju in? Ranju is also in Class A. Feijun said disappointedly. She followed Naruto with Ranju, but she was in the last class because of her talent. Well, if that's the case, then I'll test my spiritual power first. Naruto thought for a while and said. Well, for the next thing, let Feijun take you there. She has been here for several days. You should be familiar with it. I'll go first if I have something to do. I have to work hard, Naruto. Yi said with a smile, and disappeared in a blink of an eye. Naruto looked at Feijun. Then please take me there. Yes, Naruto-sama. Feijun bowed her head and replied. Naruto covered his forehead helplessly. Feijun, we will be classmates from now on. You should call me by my name. I don't want it. Lord Naruto will always be Lord Hyjin. Hyjin said stubbornly. No way, no further persuasion, no choice but to test the spiritual power first. The place to test spiritual power is in the central hall of the academy. The hall is very spacious, and people come in and out from time to time. It seems that they are all freshmen. And in the innermost part of the hall, there was an old man with gray hair. As soon as Naruto entered, he immediately sensed the powerful spiritual pressure on the old man. This is a spiritual pressure comparable to the captain level. Unexpectedly, in this academy, there will be such powerful characters as Reiatsu. From Naruto's point of view, the captain-level Reiatsu is estimated to be possessed only by the captain of the 13th division of the Guardian in the entire Soul Society. That is the top existence above 10,000 people, the pinnacle of the god of death. Now that I think about it, I still think it's too simple. After all, there are some powerful guys hidden in every world. Hyjin brought Naruto to the old man. Sir, Feijun called him respectfully. The old man nodded and looked up at Naruto. Is it a freshman who just entered the school? The expression on his face was calm and did not change in the slightest. Naruto nodded. Yes, I'm here to test my spiritual power. Well, to test the spiritual power, then put your hand on this. The old man took out a strange rectangular instrument. Naruto put his hand up as he said. Suddenly, a suction force came from the instrument, and the spiritual power in his body was suddenly absorbed. He was slightly startled, and hurriedly controlled his spiritual power so that it would not be absorbed by the instrument, but despite this, the spiritual power was still flowing in. At this time, a strong light suddenly emitted from the instrument, and a gleam of light suddenly flashed in the old man's eyes. Naruto withdrew his hand, and the light dissipated. Feijun's soft voice sounded. Naruto-sama, your spiritual power is really strong. When I tested it, it only emitted a little light. Naruto-sama, your current spiritual power potential can definitely become a captain-level figure. Naruto couldn't help but be stunned. This test method is to absorb part of the spiritual power in the human body. The stronger the spiritual power potential, the more dazzling the light. And Naruto's spiritual power has already reached the captain's level, and the potential shown is naturally the captain's level. However, the spiritual pressure potential that this instrument can detect is only at the captain level. The old man was also greatly surprised after seeing Naruto's spiritual potential. You must know that a character with captain-level potential can definitely reach the level of dissolution through hard work. Then he will become a big man, and he will definitely be able to enter the first class. 1028. Late on the first day. In the end, Naruto was assigned to Class A as a matter of course. He is in the same class as Ranju. Feijun was both happy for Naruto and secretly inferior. Her spiritual power was only the lowest level, and she was barely able to become a god of death. How could she be qualified to follow him in the future? When he left the hall where he tested his spiritual power, many people around him saw the results of the previous Naruto test, and their eyes suddenly changed. Naruto had no idea about this. After all, he knew the most about his own spiritual power. The result of this test is only produced under the control of oneself. If the spiritual power in the body is allowed to flow into the instrument, it is likely that the instrument cannot bear it. However, he didn't want to be famous for that. Despite this, Naruto is still full of expectations after entering the freshman class of Class A. This means that he has access to more resources and knowledge. After enrolling, Naruto was also assigned a dormitory, as well as some basic knowledge books. These books are very valuable, and are definitely very useful for those who do not use their own spiritual power. Of course, Naruto now possesses a tyrannical spiritual power. No matter how bad he is in using it, he does not need to learn from scratch. All he needs is some more systematic knowledge and skills of spiritual power. After getting the book, Naruto immediately watched from his personal dormitory. Now he is thirsty for knowledge, and tries to seize every minute and every second to study. Before you know it, a day has passed. Early the next morning, it was time for class. Naruto woke up and found that he was late. It was too late to read a book yesterday. What a shame. Today is the first day of school, so being late for it is really bad. He came to the place where the first class of the True Spiritual Arts Academy was located. In the large classroom, there are already a lot of people sitting there for class. Because the buildings in Seoul Society are all retro buildings, the classrooms inside are also different from the classrooms that Naruto knows. Each student is sitting on a futon on the ground and listening to the teacher explain the knowledge. And the futon belonging to Naruto is still vacant. Although it was a bit inappropriate to walk in at this time, Naruto didn't care about it. Since he was late, he had to go to class. So, he came to the door of the classroom, and just as he was about to enter, the middle-aged god of death with a mustache stopped him, his voice grim. Uzumaki Naruto. I heard that you just entered school yesterday. Today is the first day of class, but you're late, aren't you? Yes, I'm very sorry about that. Naruto nodded, admitting his mistake. Well, the degree of admitting mistakes is good, but this is the Class A of Junyang Spiritual Arts Academy. Those who make mistakes can't just let it go. As a punishment, you can be my teaching material in this class. The middle-aged death grinned. With a faint smile, he greeted Naruto over. Naruto was stunned for a moment. At this time, the students sitting below began to discuss in a low voice. It's miserable, this guy is going to be abused. Yes, the teacher is pervert, He will definitely come up with all kinds of ways to torture people. Among the students, Luanju was present, and she also looked at Naruto with a worried expression. Really, Naruto brother is actually late, it's too bad. Hey, Luanju, do you know this guy? At this moment, a cute little girl with glasses next to her asked her. Luanju turned her head and smiled. Yes, Naruto brother is my savior. He is very powerful, he has always protected me when I was in Liuhun Street. Really, but he's so handsome. Nanao, don't hit Naruto's brother's idea. He's mine, Luanju said angrily, staring at her. Oh, I won't, I'm just talking casually, don't be so serious. Nanao said with a smile. At this time, Naruto had already walked to the middle-aged god of death. After briefly introducing Naruto to everyone, the middle-aged Shinigami said, I'll show you some of the techniques of using spiritual power today. I hope you will remember it. Yes. Naruto smiled bitterly, not knowing what this guy was going to do to him. Chopping the fist and walking the ghost, the 4 major skills of the god of death, look at it. The middle-aged death god raised a wooden knife and slashed towards Naruto at a very tricky angle. The sword light flashed, and Naruto saw at a glance that this guy's strength was not even at the level of a vice captain. He instinctively raised his arm and reached out to grab it lightly. The next moment, I saw that the wooden sword of the middle-aged god of death was instantly grabbed by Naruto's palm, unable to move. Wow, take it, take it. Ranju, he is amazing. The students exclaimed. The middle-aged god of death was shocked. He didn't expect Naruto to take this knife from him. It was unbelievable. He couldn't help staring at him with wide eyes. Only then did Naruto realize that his actions were out of line. He quickly let go of his hand and apologized, sorry, teacher. Middle-aged Grim Reaper's face turned white for a while, and in front of the students, a newly enrolled student grabbed the blade. What a shame. However, his self-restraint is not bad. After he calmed down immediately, he coughed lightly and said, well, your reaction is not bad. You are a good seedling, then try this next. As soon as he finished speaking, this time he directly showed his strength. The spiritual pressure comparable to the vice captain level was spread out, and a gust of wind rose directly around him. A burst of white light of spiritual power suddenly punched Naruto's chest. Naruto wanted to dodge, but after thinking about it, he forced himself to stand on the spot, and was really punched by him. Boom! Naruto's body was immediately knocked out and fell to the ground. Brother Naruto. Seeing this, Luanju couldn't help standing up, and hurriedly ran to Naruto's side to help him up, looking at the middle-aged god of death angrily. Teacher, how can you put such a heavy hand? Brother Ren will be hurt. The other students around were also in an uproar. They felt the same way about the powerful Reiki just now. If they were punched by such a strong Reiki, how could an ordinary student be injured? This teacher's hands are too heavy. Everyone was a little outraged. 1029. Bookstore. However, when Naruto stood up unscathed, the students, including the middle-aged Shinigami, suddenly stared out their eyes. The middle-aged god of death couldn't help but look at Naruto with the same eyes as a monster. This guy can not only block his own knife, but also receive his own punch. Is he going against the sky? I have never seen such a powerful student, and I have never imagined that a student can catch the full blow of a vice captain level power. The middle-aged death god knew clearly in his heart that he had indeed lost his temper just now and had used all his strength. However, after seeing that Naruto was not injured at all, even though he was shocked, he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Okay, it seems that Naruto has a solid foundation and strong spiritual power. Then, please use your fastest speed to attack me, he said to Naruto. Naruto thought to himself, this guy punched himself just now, and he used so much force. If he hadn't cooperated with him to pour out, this guy would have been shaken out by himself. But for a guy like himself, the freshman also used a strength close to the vice captain, which was too much. If it weren't for his toughness and invincibility, even a person with a captain-level Reiatsu would be beaten hard, right? However, if this guy wants to let himself attack, he must not knock him down all at once. That would be too amazing, and he doesn't want to be famous. But if he didn't punish him, he would be very upset. Naruto stood on the spot and thought to himself. Come on, use your fastest attack with the strongest force, don't be shy. Urged the middle-aged death god. He really wanted to see Naruto's potential and be able to take on his own attack. This is definitely not easy. Naruto regained his senses and nodded with a smile. Okay, then I'll be rude. He suddenly rushed towards the middle-aged death god, and at the same time raised his fist and smashed it into his face. The middle-aged death god frowned slightly, because he found that Naruto's movements were full of flaws, and the next moment, he disappeared in an instant. When he appeared again, he was already behind Naruto. One of the broken paths, strike. I saw him pointing with one hand, and an invisible shock wave suddenly hit Naruto's back. Naruto had already sensed the other party's movements, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. In the next moment, Naruto suddenly slammed his feet, his body fell to the ground with a bang, his feet lifted unconsciously, and with a bang, he kicked the middle-aged death god who was about to rush up. And it's so immortal, the hit part happened to be between his crotch. Ooh! The middle-aged death god immediately covered his vital parts with his hands, and his body was half-kneeling on the ground, groaning in pain and tears streaming down his face. Naruto smiled secretly and got up. Ha ha ha. There was a sudden burst of laughter in the classroom, and the students were literally laughing back and forth when they saw that the middle-aged reaper was accidentally kicked by Naruto in that key part. Middle-aged god of death raised Yuhi's face and covered his crotch with both hands. The bursts of piercing pain made him unable to lift his head, but what hurt even more was his self-esteem as a teacher. It's a shame to be laughed at by classmates. However, seeing Naruto's innocent face, he suddenly felt powerless to do it, and he just felt like crying without tears. In the end, after the middle-aged reaper finally recovered, he no longer dared to use Naruto as a test object, and after letting Naruto sit back, he started lecturing again. Naruto laughed inwardly. All of this is of course his intention. Although Naruto has not thoroughly studied the 4 basic skills of the God of Death, he still has a captain-level spiritual pressure. Coupled with this invincible body, he wants to it's more than enough to tease a grim reaper who hasn't even reached the vice-captain. After returning to his seat and sitting down, Naruto found that it happened to be on the side of Luanju, and on the other side of Luanju was sitting a little girl with glasses, who looked cute at a young age. Hello, my name is Aiz Nanao, please take care of me in the future, Aiz Nanao greeted Naruto. Hello, my name is Uzumaki Naruto. I've also taken care of you. Naruto also gave her a friendly smile. Aiz Nanao's small face couldn't help but Yuhi, seeing Naruto's warm smile, he was a little stunned. Naruto is considered to be the oldest in this freshman class, because the people who can come to this class are basically people with good talent, and basically they were dug out early. There are really a few people like Naruto. He is now making fun of the teacher, and the students in the class are deeply impressed by him. Especially some young female gods of death, when they saw Naruto's handsome blonde hair, they all paid attention to him secretly. After a day of class, Naruto went back to the dormitory to continue reading. Such days lasted for a month, and Naruto finally saw through all the textbook knowledge. He found that the knowledge in these textbooks is very basic and simple, and there is not much that can really be learned. Moreover, in the past month, he has already thoroughly studied the content taught by the teacher in the class, but he still feels that he cannot meet his requirements. Studying at the current speed is still a bit slow, so he plans to enter the big library of the True Central Academy of Spiritual Arts, and is determined to read all the books in it. On this day, Naruto finished his class as usual, but he didn't go back to the dormitory, because even if he went back, he had no books to read, so he went to the big library. In the big library, there is a vast space, and there are bookshelves within a radius of hundreds of meters. Naruto found a book about ghost cultivation methods and began to read it with gusto. He was pleasantly surprised to find that the things recorded in this book were very detailed, and he felt that he suddenly felt a sense of enlightenment. What a great book and a great place to be. Naruto was fascinated by it, and he learned a lot about spiritual power and ghost realms for a while. At this moment, a puzzled voice came. Strange, why is the book I was looking for missing? Damn it, what's the matter? Did someone borrow it? The voice was very distressed, and gradually approached Naruto. Naruto was watching seriously, and he didn't pay any attention to the voice. Suddenly, he felt a tap on his shoulder. It turns out that the book was taken by you. 10:30, Yahomaru Liza. Naruto finally regained his senses, and he couldn't help being a little angry when he was awakened. When I turned around, I found that there was a beautiful girl in front of me. His long black hair was tied into a braid, he was dressed in a black death costume, and he wore the armband of the vice captain of the 8th Division on his arm. A pair of transparent round eyes and a delicate face, his face was full of surprise at this time. Naruto immediately felt that she was familiar, and she must be a plot character, but he couldn't remember it for a while, and couldn't help asking, "Who are you?" "Hey, don't you mention your own name when asking someone else's name. It's disrespectful to a beautiful woman like me." The girl suddenly showed a wicked smile. "Handsome guy, looks like you're a student I bet very famous." Quote. Naruto was even more puzzled. "Who the hell are you?" he asked again. The girl immediately looked like she was hit, and said bitterly, "Don't you even know me, the vice captain of the 8th Division, Lisa Yahomaru." Yahomaru Lisa. Naruto couldn't help but be stunned when he heard it. After thinking about it for a long time, he remembered some plots about her. "In my impression, she seems to be a character from the Masked Army, right?" "Well, this is true. It is still more than 100 years since the beginning of the plot. No wonder she is still in the Soul Realm." "Hey, handsome guy, tell me what's your name. You're reading a ghost book, do you want me to teach you a few tricks?" Lisa said with a playful smile in his ear. Looking into Naruto's eyes, there was a strange gleam in his eyes, as if he wanted to eat Naruto. She is indeed a horny girl, Naruto thought to himself. He said, "My name is Uzumaki Naruto, and I'm a freshman at the True Spiritual Art Academy." "Well, is it still a freshman?" Lisa touched her smooth jade chin, looked at Naruto with malicious eyes, and giggled. "Where are the books you're reading now?" "It's what I was watching. I'm the vice captain of the 8th Division, so of course I have priority for this kind of thing. Why don't you bring it to me soon?" Naruto was stunned for a moment, seeing how he would leave it to her, and she was only a vice captain at best, and shook his head firmly. "I'm watching, you should wait until I've finished watching it." Quote. Hey, handsome guy, are you trying to disobey the order of the vice captain? This is not right. You will be punished. Lisa's body suddenly leaned over, and she raised her head with a very sharp expression. The menace looked at Naruto, but at the same time she squeezed his chest tightly with her plump breasts. Naruto suddenly felt a soft feeling in his chest, looked down at the girl who did not behave like a vice captain at all, and said helplessly, "Punish me for a book. It's impossible to pass. Even the vice captain can't abuse his power, right?" When Lisa heard this, her body leaned even tighter. "Oh. You said, I abuse, use, position, power. Then I really have to abuse it again." She suddenly stretched out her hand, pushed Naruto against the bookshelf, pressed her body tightly against his chest, and said in a very ambiguous tone, "Next, the captain will punish you. Punishment, what do you think?" "How?" Naruto couldn't help but jump. Isn't this lecherous woman trying to push herself here? No matter how lewd it is, it's impossible to be so lewd. Naruto broke out in a cold sweat. Just when he was about to respond, Lisa suddenly left his body again, curled his lips and said, "Well, forget it. I have something to do today, so I'll leave first. Handsome guy, your name is Uzumaki. Human. I'll let you read the book for now. The captain will remember you. Be careful next time." After speaking, Lisa dodged and left the big library. Naruto let out a long breath. And Lisa came to the corridor after leaving the big library, and suddenly covered her chest. He murmured with a dizzy face, "Really, it's so handsome. My heart is beating so fast, I can't help but do something out of the ordinary. I'm still doing it. Oops, I'm so lustful. No, evil thoughts go away. Evil thoughts go away." And Naruto continued to lower his head to read the book. After being interrupted by Lisa, he suddenly found that it was difficult for him to calm down. This girl was really terrible. She suddenly jumped out to tempt him, and then immediately flashed, "Damn it." At night, Naruto borrowed the books he was reading from the library and went back to his personal dormitory to study. The 31 Scarlet Artillery. In the palm of his hand, a Sakura Yuhi-colored energy ball was fired, with a bang. In the training plaza of the True Spiritual Arts Academy, everyone is practicing the ghost art project. Naruto stood in the crowd, and according to the way of using ghosts, he was practicing over and over again to control the ghosts. He didn't dare to inject all the spiritual pressure, otherwise, the power of the entire red artillery would rise to a terrifying level, which would cause unnecessary trouble. Therefore, he carefully controlled the power of the red artillery in the palm of his hand, and he found that doing so was very beneficial to himself against this ghost master. Brother Naruto, look, my red artillery is already very powerful. At this moment, Luanju came to Naruto, raised his head and said to him happily. Naruto stopped cultivating, reached out and touched the head of the chrysanthemum, and said with a smile, then show it to me. Yeah, good. Luanju happily raised her hands, closed her eyes slightly and began to chant. Kun Komer, the mask of flesh and blood, all the phenomena, the thing that flutters high, and bears the name of human beings. Scorching heat and strife, rolling back south across the sea, and marching forward. The 31 Red Cannon. Boom. I saw that a basketball-sized Sakura Yuhi-colored energy ball suddenly appeared in the palm of Ranju's palm, and it flew towards the ground ahead with a bang. Boom. The explosion sounded, and the ground in front was blasted into a small hole, and the gravel splashed with extraordinary power. Not bad, very good. Naruto praised, it is indeed quite powerful that Luanju can have such strength. Naruto is also pleased with her progress. Luanju, who was praised by Naruto, immediately became more motivated and continued to practice happily. At this time, not far from the square, Feijun was looking at Naruto and Ranju who had already entered the ghost training here, with an envious look on his face. Hey, it's really getting farther and farther away from Naruto-sama's figure. 1031. 3 years later. Naruto is very serious about the cultivation of ghost realms, even if it is the first and second ghost realms, he will study it very seriously and carefully. Although it is said that there is basically no advanced ghost knowledge in this true Central Academy of Spiritual Arts, everyone who has entered here has devoted all their efforts to studying advanced ghost knowledge. And Naruto, after learning the low-level and intermediate-level ghost ways taught by the teacher in class, was not satisfied with the status quo at all. He frantically went to the library to find this knowledge, and frantically read every book. Ghost Road, Shunbu, White Strike, Slashing. For him, these skills are the essence of how to use spiritual power developed by people from Eternal in the soul world. By learning these skills, he can also deeply feel the nature of spiritual power and how to use it. And the continued development of the use of spiritual power. He is now accepting everything in front of him as a scholar. In the future, he will create everything as a pioneer. The foundation is the most important part. Only when the master has the foundation can the future be better developed. Naruto believed in this truth, so every day after class, he would enter the library of the true Central Academy of Spiritual Arts and read the books carefully. In the blink of an eye, 3 years have passed. In the past 3 years, Naruto has read all the books on the cultivation of the god of death in the library. For him, it was really beneficial. Of course, although these books are very comprehensive, there are still no records of some advanced ghosts, shunbu, and white fights. You must learn from others to get them. During the 3 years of True Central Spiritual Arts Academy, Naruto has learned all the ghost ways except the forbidden technique and used them skillfully. And under the influence of Yi Yi, his instant pace is also blue, almost comparable to Yi Yi, and in terms of white fights, he is a master of physique himself, so there is no need to learn more about it. The previous 2 worlds have the fighting skills he has learned are enough for him to conquer the world, and the same is true for cutting techniques. Although he is not a master of weapons, with his experience in many worlds, it is not a problem to practice swordsmanship. Of course, in terms of spiritual power, he has not neglected self-cultivation, and he has also made great progress. In short, in the past 3 years, Naruto has completed the transformation of himself. Now he is fully qualified for the position of the captain, and he has the strength to fight or even defeat the captain. It's just that he is doing all of this silently. He doesn't usually show anything. He is also very low-key in school. Every time his grades are only in the middle, his relationship with other gods of death is also relatively harmonious, and he has never had trouble. This makes Yitai very happy, and every time he comes to see him, he will teach him a lot of skills about Shunpo. True Central Spiritual Arts Academy. At the top of the tallest building, Naruto stood quietly. He looked at the blue sky and couldn't help muttering. 3 years, 3 years, although the strength has improved rapidly, but the power of this world is not as good as imagined master, the search for one's own spiritual power is still far away. Without a start, without a life and death battle, it will be difficult to achieve breakthrough progress. It seems that we have to find a way to go to the virtual circle. Nailu should be waiting there too, right? Brother Naruto, so you're here. At this moment, a crisp voice came from below. Naruto looked down, and saw Luanju looking up at himself under the building. What's wrong, Ranju? Are there any lessons today? Naruto appeared in front of her in a blink of an eye, with a smile on his face. In the past 3 years, although Luanju has not grown significantly, but because she has lived a stable life, she does not look as thin and frail now as she did before. Water Spirit logo, very cute. Really, Naruto brother, have you forgotten? Today's day is very special. Captain Yamamoto will come to guide our Class A in person. Ranju took his hand and ran to the training ground in front of him. Oh, is Captain Yamamoto coming? If so, let's go and have a look. Naruto replied indifferently. That old guy was an antique-level figure in the Soul and Soul world, and his spiritual pressure was unfathomable. Naruto now compared with him, the Reiatsu was completely unmatched. However, he also knows that he can't be too close to him now. After all, he still has many secrets hidden in him. If this old guy finds out, it will be troublesome. Zanpakuto won't be released until you graduate and officially become a Grim Reaper. For the past 3 years, Naruto has kept Kina's power deep in his body, preventing her from coming out. Because of this, Kina has complained to him many times. Also, his unique physical properties cannot be known. Therefore, in the past few years, Naruto has seldom contacted other captain-level Shinigami other than the Night One. Really, Naruto brother, he's the captain. It's very rare to be able to guide us. Don't look like you can't keep your spirits up. Seeing him like this, Luanju couldn't help but get angry. Naruto shook his head and smiled, and had to follow her to the square. Anyway, in such a case, he can't be absent. On the other side of the square, everyone else in the class had already arrived, standing straight there, waiting for the arrival of the captain. Naruto ran to the back row and stood up, and joined the waiting queue. Captain Yamamoto is the founder of the True Central Spiritual Arts Academy, and the captain of the 13th Division of the Guardian of the Soul Society. He is the leader of the entire Soul Society. Except for the Central Room 46, his power is the highest. Moreover, his strength is also invincible in the Soul realm. He is a being admired in the hearts of every death and will-be-death person. At this moment, everyone is very excited. After waiting for a long time, a few figures suddenly appeared in front of everyone. The figure gradually approached. The old man in the middle with a long white beard on his chin and a cane in his hand is Yamamoto Yuanyujai. And beside him, there were 2 gods of death, an uncle wearing a hat, and another elegant young man with long white hair. Naruto also has an impression of these 2 people. They are the captain of the 8th Division, Jingle Chunshui, and the captain of the 13th Division, Yukataki Shuru. 2,000 years ago, they were Yamamoto's first students. 1032. Martial Arts. The spiritual pressure on the 3 of them was unfathomable, and along the way, they faced the countless respectful eyes of the students with a calm expression. This is the calm aura of a captain-level character. Luanju, who was beside Naruto, also had a look of admiration, and whispered to Naruto, "Brother Naruto, look, he is a captain-level big man." We must perform better, if they are attracted to them. From now on, you can directly enter the 13th team of the Guardian. Naruto smiled lightly. Ranju, it's not that easy. If you want to enter the 13th team of the Guardian, you must rely on your strength. I'm already very good. I can definitely do it. Luanju was full of confidence. At this moment, the three people have come to everyone, and behind the three people, there are several vice captains and officers. It seems that they came here today to make adequate preparations. At a glance, Naruto saw the braided girl following Jingle Chunsui, the lecherous vice captain Lisa Yazumaru whom she met 3 years ago. In the past 3 years, she also often went to the library to read and borrow books. Every time she met Naruto, she would come to say hello to him, and occasionally looked at Naruto with lustful eyes, a complete look of hopelessness. Erotic female figure. However, at this time, she was standing behind Chun Shui, with a noble and elegant appearance, fresh and refined, with a serious face, and she could not see the lustful and corrupt nature of her heart at all. However, her eyes seemed to have been searching for something, which made Naruto secretly startle. At this moment, Captain Yamamoto stepped forward and began to lecture. The content is nothing more than the history of Jingling Court, as well as the responsibility and mission of the God of Death. After he finished speaking, the real teaching began. He pointed out one by one and let people come forward to cover up what he had learned from him. At this moment, everyone was excited. It is a rare thing to be able to show one's abilities in front of Captain Yamamoto. Everyone was excited, and went up to show everything they had to the three captains. Ghost Road, Shunbu, White Strike, Slashing, these basic skills, almost all the people in Class A are very skilled, and they practice them one by one in front of Captain Yamamoto. Hey, that's too bad. Aren't there a few good seedlings in this year's students? After watching the drills of more than a dozen students, Yamamoto Yuanyujai couldn't help shaking his head and sighing, making those students infinitely disappointed. At this time, a little girl walked over. Wow, it's Nanao, brother Naruto, she's very powerful. Ranju exclaimed softly. Naruto nodded slightly. Of course, he knew that Nanao's ability was really good. During the time he was in the library, he often saw Nanao come to borrow books and read books, and his relationship with Yazumaru Lisa still lingered. Good looking. Moreover, he also knows that Nanao's talent in ghosts is very outstanding, and she is the well-deserved first place in almost every ghost class exam. I saw Nanao stepped forward and first showed the slashing techniques Shunbu and Shido to the captains. I saw Nanao concentrated the spiritual child in his hands, and suddenly combined them in a special arrangement to form a special armband, and the white light curtain radiated a faint light. He couldn't help showing a look of admiration. Yes, being able to use and control ghosts so skillfully is a talent. Is your name Nanao? Captain Yamamoto beckoned to her. Nanao withdrew his ghost path, nodded slightly, and said respectfully, yes, please also ask the Commander-in-Chief to give guidance. Well, very good. Captain Yamamoto saw that she was talented, strong, and humble and polite, nodded with satisfaction and smiled. Your performance is already very good, and your Ghost Dao, even in the Ghost Taoist group, is very remarkable. You will enter the 8th division in the future. Follow the Jingle Chunsui captain to practice. I will also arrange for you to enter the Ghost Taoist group to continue your in-depth study. Captain Yamamoto's words immediately shocked everyone, and everyone looked at Nanao with envy and jealousy. The talent she showed really caught the attention of these big men. Thank you very much. Nanao is very honored. Nanao was also very excited and hurriedly bowed to the three captains. Well, you go back to the team first, and Captain Chunsui will arrange for you later. Nanao nodded and returned to the team with a look of excitement. Nanao, you are amazing. Luanju quietly gave her a thumbs up. Nanao smiled and nodded. Ranju, you have to do your best. And Naruto-san too. After a while, it was finally the turn of the chrysanthemum. But unfortunately, Luanju was not favored by the three captains. Although her grades could rank in the top 10 in the class, there was nothing outstanding in all aspects, so she had to return to the team depressed. Ranju, don't be sad, try harder next time. Anyway, you can graduate in 3 years, and then you will become a real death god after getting Zanpakuto. I believe you will shine. Naruto reached out and touched his head, comforting her softly. Only then did the smile reappear on Luanju's face, and he nodded heavily. I will. Brother Naruto is missing you now. It's your turn, you have to work hard. Naruto smiled slightly, but he didn't want to go up to show them anything. With the mentality of hiding if he could hide, he stood motionless. Well, is there anyone who hasn't come up yet? At this time, Captain Yamamoto said. I heard that there is another person named Uzumaki Naruto in Class A. Didn't he come? Captain Yamamoto's eyes were sharp, and he passed through the crowd and landed directly on Naruto at the back. Everyone turned to look at him. Uzumaki Naruto, he is the most mysterious guy in our class. The guy who teased the teacher as soon as school started, and disappeared after class, usually doesn't come out to participate in various activities, and spends all day in the library. I don't know what he's working on. Yeah, but his grades are only average. The 3 captains must not look down on him. Hey, that's not necessarily true. I heard that his background is very impressive. He has something to do with the captain of the 2nd division, Saifeng Yuanyi. 1033. Against Lisa. In the midst of the crowd's discussion, Naruto pouted and had no choice but to go forward. In the wide square, everyone's eyes were all focused on him. Naruto slowly came to the 3 of Yamamoto and pulled out the wooden sword on his body. He thought to himself, since he couldn't escape, he could just show them something. Although he is confident that he can defeat captain-level figures with his own strength, the 3 captains in front of him are not ordinary. Captain, that is a person who has been the captain thousands of years ago, and his strength is unfathomable, much more powerful than ordinary captains. Therefore, he can't reveal any flaws to be discovered by them. However, just when he was about to use his sword to perform some basic beheading techniques, Captain Yamamoto suddenly waved his hand and said, "Wait a minute, Uzumaki Naruto, you don't need to practice with the old man will give you one directly." Problem. Naruto couldn't help but stunned. The other students were also slightly surprised. Kiraku and Uzumaki smiled faintly. Then, Yamamoto winked at Harushui. Jingle Chunshui gave a wry smile, and said lightly to Lisa Yazumaru, the vice-captain behind him, "Go, kill Uzumaki Naruto." What? Except for the 3 captains, everyone else was shocked. Liza Yazumaru, who was ordered, couldn't help but look in disbelief and murmured, "Captain, is this a test for him?" Jingle Chunshui suddenly turned cold. "Kill him. This is an order." Liza Yahomaru couldn't help but tremble, but he didn't do anything wrong. Chunshui glanced at her. "If you don't kill him, then I will do it." Lisa was shocked and finally nodded. "Okay, Captain, I will carry out this order." Chunshui nodded, and exchanged looks with Uzumaki and Yamamoto, and a slight curvature appeared at the corner of his mouth. And Luanju and the others were already stunned. After a while, when Lisa came to Naruto with Zanpakuto, Luanju, who had just reacted, rushed up and stopped in front of Naruto, shouting, "Why did you want to kill Naruto, brother? What did he do wrong?" Naruto looked at this scene, but his expression remained unchanged. He lightly pressed on the thin shoulders of Ranju, and when he saw her standing up in front of him, he was a little moved, and he couldn't help but whisper, "Ranju, this is the test of Captain Yamamoto, don't worry about me." What kind of test is this? They said they were going to kill you. Run, Naruto brother, I'll stop them. Luanju stood in front of him with a firm face, motionless. Seeing her so persistent appearance, everyone around was moved. Naruto couldn't help shaking his head. "Really, Ranju, if Captain Yamamoto really wanted to kill me, he wouldn't have sent Lisa out. Don't worry, this is really just a test." When Luanju heard this, she had to return to the team with a worried look on her face. Lisa suddenly pulled out the cold gleaming Zanpakuto, pointed it at Naruto and said, "I'm sorry, handsome guy, this time it's an order, I'll have to kill you, don't worry, I'll cry for you when you die." Oh. Naruto couldn't help but spread his hands. Well, this kind of test is really unacceptable. Deputy Captain Liza, you won't do it hard, right? However, the response to Naruto was a sudden cold light. Sharp beheading. As soon as Lisa hit the knife, she immediately slashed several knives at Naruto. The knives are connected, almost forming an afterimage. Naruto was taken aback. Lisa's slashing skills seemed to be very powerful, and the knife skills were so fast that it was dazzling. This shot was so sharp, he really didn't want to hide. In a blink of an eye, his figure appeared behind Lisa. "Hey, you don't really kill me for orders, do you?" Lisa smiled and said, "Although I can't resist a handsome guy like you, the captain's order is even more irresistible. So I can only reluctantly part with my love. However, if you can escape my slash, your instant steps are really amazing." After Naruto heard this, he had no choice but to hold the wooden knife in his hand. It seems that they want to test their own strength today. 3 years ago, I entered Jingling Court through Yi's relationship and entered the True Central Spiritual Arts Academy. I must have been concerned by Yamamoto and the others. In the past 3 years, I have been wearing a captain-level spiritual pressure, but my performance has been mediocre. Something is wrong. So, are these people here to use the pressure of life and death to force themselves to use their true strength? Naruto sighed secretly in his heart, and now it seems that he can only reveal a little of his strength to them. Thinking of this, he clenched the wooden knife, aimed at Lisa's Zanpakuto, and said lightly, "If you want to kill me, use all your strength." Cut, handsome guy, I'm the vice captain. Riza Yahomaru suddenly disappeared in front of Naruto in a blink of an eye. The next moment, Naruto's gaze shifted to the left, a figure suddenly appeared in the line of sight. Zanpakuto slashed 10 times in a row. 10 sword shadows intertwined into one, and slashed towards Naruto's chest. What a powerful beheading technique! As expected of the vice captain. Seeing Lisa's slashing technique, everyone exclaimed. Lisa's slashing technique was the first of the year in the class of students. Haru Shui said as if explaining to everyone. However, at this time, Naruto was standing still, and the wooden knife in his hand suddenly came out in a hurry. It seemed like a shock in the sky, it stabbed Lisa's chest in an instant. Faster and faster than Lisa. First come first. Oh, a hint of surprise flashed in Chun Shui's eyes, and he looked at Fuzu. Swish. The wooden knife slashed through the air with a beam of light, and with the release of the spiritual pressure on Naruto, Lisa suddenly snorted and flew backwards. Boom. Lisa kept taking dozens of steps back before she stopped and raised her head in shock. What a fast beheading technique. Right. Just fast. There is a saying that is good, all martial arts in the world are invincible, only fast is invincible. And Naruto's main practice is speed, regardless of his skills. Once the speed reaches ultimate, he can often kill the enemy with one move. Just now, Naruto attacked Lisa with an extremely fast slash. Because there was spiritual pressure attached to the wooden sword. This sword cut out, it was also very powerful. Lisa was able to react and resist, and was given by this sword. Sweep out. At this moment, everyone was shocked. 1034. Graduation. Uzumaki Naruto can actually beat the vice captain. It's amazing. I didn't expect him to hide his strength all the time. I couldn't even see it clearly with such a quick cut. Yes, if it were me, I would definitely be hacked to death. A gleam of light flashed in Yamamoto Yuanyuji's eyes, and his eyes were locked on Naruto. He could see that the knife just now was not only fast, but also accurate and ruthless. This blow, even after years of fighting, even the god of death can't do it. After Lisa was repelled, the surprise on her face was gradually replaced by a dignified expression. Before, she had always held a tentative attitude, but now Naruto's strength has made her feel the pressure. Her eyes narrowed, the frivolous expression on her face disappeared, her jade face was tense, and suddenly disappeared again in a blink of an eye. Naruto stood there, smiling, but did not respond. Suddenly, a crisp and urgent ghost chant came from above him. The thunderous carriage gap of the spinning wheel, this thing has light cluster and divide into 6. The 61616 Jinchuriki column light prison. As soon as the voice fell, I saw a 6 paths light sheet suddenly appeared around Naruto, flying towards his body with a swoosh. However, just when the 6 paths light film was about to restrain Naruto's body disappeared instantly. Instant step. The next time it appeared, it was already in the sky, above the head of Lisa, who had just finished singing. Lisa was slightly startled, but as soon as she turned around, she saw Naruto stretched out a finger. The 61616 Jinchuriki column light prison. Even the chanting was abandoned, and the 6 paths light sheet formed around it, and it came to Lisa's waist with a swish, locking her body firmly. What? With a scream, Lisa's body fell directly to the ground. However, in the next instant, Naruto flashed again. When he reappeared, he was already below Lisa. Seeing the direction she fell, he stretched out his hand to gently catch her body. Lisa fell into his arms with a startled and stunned expression on her face. You lost. Naruto smiled faintly. I. Lisa opened her mouth wide and didn't know what to say. She was at a loss for a while before she realized that she was in his arms. Yuhi couldn't help her face, and suddenly said, "Handsome guy. How long are you going to hug me?" When Naruto heard this, he let go. He smiled, and untied the bondage by the way. The crowd finally started talking in shock. Okay, such a fast chop, such a fast shunpo, such a fast ghost way. Uzumaki Naruto's speed is so fast. Not only is the speed fast, but the ghost who gave up the chant can actually restrain the vice captain. How strong does that require a Reiatsu? Could it be that he has reached the captain's level? It's scary, can't see it. Liza vice captain is not a captain at all. Listening to everyone's discussion, Naruto couldn't help but think, with this strength exposed, this should be the end of it, right? This is 60% of his strength. However, before Lisa could leave, an extremely dangerous aura suddenly came from behind Naruto. He couldn't help being startled, and turned around in an instant to meet with the wooden knife in his hand. Click. A cold light flashed by, and the next moment, Naruto's wooden sword was broken in two. The cold light continued to move forward, towards Naruto's chest. At this moment, Naruto has two choices, either directly face the blade with his body, or try to escape. Of course he can't use his body to follow, in that case, the secret of his body will definitely be exposed, so he must choose to avoid it. The spiritual pressure of the whole body was suddenly raised, and the foot suddenly swayed. When the situation was critical, Naruto used the secret footwork taught by Yi. Empty cicada. In an instant, the cold light pierced the robe, and Naruto's figure disappeared. Oh, he's really a powerful guy. It's amazing to be able to dodge my sneak attack. At this moment, Jingle Chunchui's voice sounded, and the surprise could not be concealed in his tone. After seeing Naruto defeat Lisa just now, he immediately rushed up to deal with Naruto and wanted to catch him off guard. This guy is best at sneak attacks. Naruto's robe fell off, wearing a black tight shirt inside, with a wry smile. Even the captain is going to attack a little student of mine. Is this really trying to kill me? I am sorry I couldn't help but take action for a while, but I didn't expect you to learn the footwork of Captain Yi. You deserve to be the man she chose, Jingle Chunchui said guy with a smile. Naruto smiled lightly and looked at Yamamoto Yuanyujai. Then, is it time for the captain to take action next? Captain Yamamoto shook his head and said, no need, the order I gave just now is really just to test your strength. Now I know your strength, very good, no wonder Yi will guarantee you so much, this matter will come. This is the end, Uzumaki Naruto, you can graduate from the True Spiritual Arts Academy now. And you are eligible to run for the captaincy. What? Captain's campaign. Hearing this, all the students present couldn't help but froze for a while, and exclaimed in unison. Naruto was also very surprised. He just revealed a little strength, but he was chosen by Captain Yamamoto to be the leader of the campaign. Swish! At this moment, a shadow suddenly descended from the sky and came to Naruto. Naruto, congratulations on your successful graduation. Since that's the case, now I will appoint you to be the third seat of my second division. It's Yi Yi. I saw that she was wearing a captain's feather woven suit, her long hair was tied into a bun, and her slender figure was slim. At this moment, she was looking at Naruto with a smile on her face. Yuichi, you've really dug a talent. After Lisa and I's test, Naruto's strength has been firmly above the vice-captain's level, and his speed has even reached the level of the captain's level. Jingo Chunshui said with a smile. The man I chose, of course, is not comparable to ordinary people, haha, he is much more powerful than your Nanao. Yi Yi laughed. The appearance and choice of Yi Yi immediately caused the students below to exclaim with envy and jealousy. Naruto couldn't help but have outstanding strength, and he even won the favor of the second division captain who is a noble. This is simply a step to the sky. From an ordinary student, he jumped directly to the third seat of the second team. This is absolutely a unique promotion. At this moment, everyone was envious of Naruto. 1035, Virtual Circle Mission. Congratulations, Big Brother Naruto. After this training was over, Ranju excitedly took Naruto's hand and blessed. Naruto smiled slightly. Ranju, you have to work hard, and you will graduate soon. I will definitely try my best to keep up with Naruto brother's footsteps. Luanju looked serious. Since Naruto had already been ordered to graduate by Captain Yamamoto, and was selected by Yi to join the second division, he no longer needed to stay at the True Spirit Academy, and moved directly into the second division. Also, he officially became a Grim Reaper and released Zanpakuto from the top. In the second division team, Naruto held the handed-out Zanpakuto in his hand, shining in cold light and in brand new condition. He knew that every god of death had to communicate with this Zanpakuto, and the two sides reached a realm of water and milk, so that they could continue to exert their strongest power. However, Naruto's own power that belongs to Kunai can already be turned into Zanpakuto for his own use. If he uses this Zanpakuto again, it will be a bit redundant. At this moment, Chunai's voice suddenly rang out of his mind. Naruto, there seems to be a spiritual power in this Zanpakuto, I think I can fuse it. Huh, you said you can combine the power of this sword. Naruto couldn't help but be surprised. Chunai's voice said again, yes, Zanpakuto itself is formed by a spiritual force, and since I can transform into a knife, I can also attach myself to Zanpakuto and become the knife spirit of this knife. Soon as the voice fell, a ray of light flew out of Naruto's body and landed on Zanpakuto in Naruto's hands. Zanpakuto suddenly emitted a lustful light from Yuhi, and Naruto opened his eyes wide, only to feel an extremely strong reiatsu emanating from the sword. Then, Yuhi Guang disappeared, and Kina's surprised voice came out in his mind. It's really good, this knife is amazing, after I fused it just now, I found that the original ability has changed a little, it seems to be more than before. Stronger. Naruto was also very happy to hear it. Chunai's strength is her own strength, and the stronger her strength is, the stronger her strength is. I don't know what level of power will be achieved after Shikai. Zanpakuto tightly in his hands, thinking to himself. However, he can't use Shikai indiscriminately here, because when he used Shikai in the virtual circle before, the spiritual pressure of his body jumped directly to the level beyond the captain. Cause unnecessary trouble. Thinking like this, he restrained the urge to Shikai immediately, and thought about the next plan, entered the virtual circle to find Nailu, and used the power of his current master to find the first generation of Mebus. Just then, someone knocked on the door, and Naruto was startled, put away Zanpakuto, and opened the door. Yi Yi, why are you here? The person who appeared in front of the door was Yi Yi. She was dressed in Captain Yori, with a faint smile on her face, looking noble and elegant. I felt a powerful Reiatsu just now. Did you use Zanpakuto? Yi asked strangely after entering the room. Naruto nodded. Yeah, I have to make Zanpakuto reach Shikai reconciliation as soon as possible so that I can become stronger. Well, work hard. Yi thought about it and said, but if you want to become stronger, Zanpakuto's power is not the only way. Besides, the use of spiritual power is also very important. Can even suppress other captains with her bare hands without Zanpakuto in battle. It can be seen that Yaiki's ability is definitely of the invincible type, and the most strange thing is that Naruto found that her Zanpakuto 100 years ago had disappeared, and now she never wears Zanpakuto on her body, which is also among the captains. It's an outlier. However, Naruto also strongly agrees with Yaiki's words. Zanpakuto's power is an external thing after all, not really his own spiritual power. Oh, yes, Yi, I want to go to the virtual circle in a few days. With my current status, I should be able to apply for the request to go to the virtual circle, right? Naruto asked suddenly. Yi was slightly taken aback. Naruto, what are you doing in the virtual circle? Although you have been promoted to the third seat by me now, even if you are the captain, you cannot enter the virtual circle without a good reason. Hearing this, Naruto couldn't help frowning. Are the conditions for entering the virtual circle so strict? Yi smiled again. However, recently, there is a quest to go to the virtual circle in Soul Society, and all the gods of death below the vice captain can go, so you can also sign up to participate. Oh, what kind of mission? You'll know when you go. Yi smiled. Naruto nodded. Okay, then I'll go to participate. Next, after the two chatted for a while, Yi had something to do and left. Before leaving, Yi said something inexplicable to him. Culture well, Naruto, I'm waiting for the moment when you surpass me. Naruto was stunned. Afterwards, he left the team building and went to the South Gate Square of Jingling Court to participate in the mission of the virtual circle. Before that, he asked a few of his subordinates to help keep an eye on the news of the first generation of Mebus. In the wide square, in front of it is a huge light curtain of spiritual children. In front of the Linksea light curtain, a group of death gods in black military uniforms gathered. Naruto stepped forward, and then heard the introduction of this virtual circle mission. Go to the virtual circle, guide those lost souls, and ask everyone to kill at least one big virtual. It turned out to be the task of killing Daxu, which was very simple for Naruto. He happily signed up and passed through the black cavity opened by the technology of the Soul Realm, and entered the virtual circle with a group of death gods. As long as he comes here, he can take the opportunity to find Nailu. He knew that almost 100 years had passed since the time when he left the virtual circle. For more than 100 years, Nailu has been alone in the virtual circle, and you can imagine how lonely she is. Thinking of this, Naruto feels extremely guilty, and the mood to find Nailu becomes more urgent. After a burst of light, Naruto and a kind of death gods appeared in the dim virtual circle. At this moment, everyone's expressions became abnormally solemn. Because this is the real training ground for life and death, before coming here, everyone has made the determination to die. 1036. Lisa is injured. The Shinigami present are all young Shinigami with lofty ideals. They are full of enthusiasm and blood, hoping to make progress in the sinister environment. Among the gods of death, Naruto kept a low profile, the same black military uniform, with the Zanpakuto around his waist, a golden flowing short hair. At best, he looked a little more handsome. His purpose is to find Nailu, and the time for this task seems to be only 10 days. After 10 days, everyone will return here to concentrate, and then return to Soul Realm together. This is not so much a task as it is a trial. Just like when I came here to train on the night, I risked my life. Suddenly, among the many gods of death, Naruto saw a small figure, none other than Aiz Nanao, who was selected by the captain of the 8th Division before. I didn't expect her to take part in such a dangerous mission at such a young age. And when he looked at her, she also saw Naruto here. Big brother Naruto. She couldn't help showing surprise on her face, and ran over excitedly. I didn't expect you to participate in this mission too. Yeah, you actually dare to take part in such a dangerous mission, you're really brave. Naruto shook his head. Nanao said firmly. No, I can already fight independently. If I train in the virtual circle, I can become stronger. Okay, then you have to be more careful, don't get too close to the inner circle, you know. Naruto told her. After all, Nanao Aiz is still young. Although his talent is good and his strength is much stronger than that of ordinary Shinigami, this is an empty circle after all. Even if the ordinary imaginary strength is not strong, if a big imaginary emerges, it would still be fatal to her. Yeah, I see, thank you Naruto for your concern. Nanao smiled, why don't we team up with the two of us? Naruto couldn't help but stunned for a moment, and smiled bitterly in his heart. If this girl wants to form a team with him, he can't go to Nailu. He originally wanted to act alone, but when he looked at Nanao, he was full of expectations. Naruto couldn't bear to refuse in his heart. At this moment, another crisp and familiar voice sounded. Yo, handsome guy, so you're here too. Naruto turned his head and looked surprised. Vice Captain Lisa. Why are you here? Isn't this mission only those below the vice captain can participate? The girl who came to Naruto in front of her was dressed in a black military uniform and had a slender body. She smiled and said, I'm here to accompany Nanao to practice. It's just that sparring is not a mission. Is this all right? Naruto couldn't help sweating. However, since Lisa was there, Naruto didn't have to worry about it. It was enough for Nanao to practice with her. Therefore, he did not agree to Nanao's request, and turned around and left alone. I'm going to hunt for prey first, see you in 10 days. After leaving a sentence, Naruto disappeared. This guy, why are you running so fast? Could it be that I'm afraid I'll eat him? Really? Lisa muttered. After leaving the gods of death, Naruto immediately performed Shunpo, and his figure ran fast in the virtual circle. His body is like a gust of wind, and with a slight movement of his feet, he has moved a distance of dozens or hundreds of meters. In this vast world, Naruto exerted his speed to the limit, and in an instant he ran forward for dozens of kilometers. Nailu, where are you? After running for a while, Naruto stopped. He exuded his own spiritual power and carefully sensed Nailu's breath. It's a pity that the virtual circle is really too big. Although Naruto has strong strength and good perception, but after 100 years, in this virtual circle, Nailu has no idea where she went and cannot be sensed. In the vast world, how to find it? Sure enough, the strength has not yet reached a certain level. Is it so troublesome to even find someone? 10 days later, Naruto returned to the place where everyone gathered before. His expression was melancholy, and his face could not hide a trace of loneliness. For 10 days, Naruto searched for a long time in the virtual circle, but in the end he could not find Nailu, not even her breath. Perhaps, Nailu's aura has been hidden from herself. Just when he was secretly sad, an eager and tender voice suddenly came from beside him. Naruto. Naruto turned his head to look, but it turned out to be a lecherous woman, Lisa Yahomaru. However, this time, she didn't call herself handsome this time, but called her own name, and the look on her face was very wrong. Suddenly, her body fell towards her, and she rushed into her arms with a bang. Naruto was stunned. This guy came to attack the hooligan again. It's a virtual circle here. However, when his hand touched Lisa's back, he felt a hot and humid feeling in the palm of his hand. He raised his hand and saw a cloud of yuhi. It's blood. And Lisa was lying in her arms at this time, looking anxious and weak, only to see that the clothes on her body were also tattered, and Zanpakuto was also broken in two. Naruto couldn't help but startled. What's wrong? Lisa. Quick, go and save Nanao. Lisa clutched Naruto's clothes tightly, begging with an anxious and painful expression, please hurry up and save her. She was taken away by the king of the virtual circle. Now. What? The king of the virtual circle? Naruto's body shook violently. What's going on? Naruto was also anxious. However, Lisa fainted. At this time, the other gods of death who had come to gather here also gathered around, and Naruto had no choice but to hand her over to them and ask them to take her back first. Hey, do you want to act alone? Naruto's actions surprised the rest of the gods of death. Is it better to inform the captains about Akatsuki before making a decision? They all made conservative decisions. But Naruto knew that Nanao was taken away by the king of the virtual circle, and the situation was absolutely urgent. Therefore, he stopped fussing, and after asking everyone to bring Lisa back for treatment, they ran directly to the direction of Zai Palace. The king of the virtual circle should live there. Along the way, Naruto's figure became popular, and he was also thinking about this sudden thing in his heart. He thought that with Lisa taking care of Nanao, he shouldn't encounter any major danger without approaching the territory of Zai Palace, but this time, it seems that there is something strange in it. I hope that nothing will happen to Nanao. 1037. Breaking into the Void Knight Palace. Judging from Lisa's injury, the emptiness to capture Nanao must be above the Ichuka's level. Lisa's strength is definitely very strong, and she is also an outstanding figure among the vice-captains. In your Shikai's situation, her strength can even be compared with the inferior Ichuka's. But she would be seriously injured. This matter is definitely not that simple. Corpse Soul Realm, in the 5th Division Team Building. Aizen returned to the house, looked at a document in his hand, and a faint smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Uzumaki Naruto, in the virtual circle, I see what else you can do. Suddenly, a figure opened the door and entered. Aizen, I heard that you went to the virtual circle recently. What are you doing there? I didn't allow you to go to that kind of place. The lazy voice revealed a sharp tone, and Aizen looked slightly startled. Turned around and smiled faintly. Captain Pingzi, there is something suspicious over there in the virtual circle, so I went to investigate. It should be fine, right? The person who came was Mako Hirako, the captain of the 5th Division, with yellow hair and short eyebrows. At this time, his face was serious. HMPH, Aizen, don't do anything under my eyelids, your thoughts can't escape my eyes. Hirako Mako released the spiritual pressure, and immediately threatened Aizen. Aizen's face remained unchanged, with a faint smile, which made people feel harmless to humans and animals, and there was no way to start. Virtual Circle. Before the Void Knight Palace. Naruto appeared at the gate. This palace is the first time he has approached, and when he practiced in the virtual circle, he was only able to come to the inner circle. At this moment, in order to rescue Nanao, he had to break into this extremely dangerous place, a place where even the captain-level death god would not dare to enter alone. Here, also known as the King of the Void Circle, where Balagang is located, he is in charge of countless great voids, and his power is comparable to the existence of the 13th team of the God of Death. The God of Death. At this moment, a tall and thin figure appeared at the door of Zai Palace, looking at Naruto with disdain. The opponent is similar in size to a human, with deer antlers on its head, an empty hollow in its abdomen, and a deer-faced skeleton mask on its face. Are you the guard of the Void Knight Palace? Naruto's expression remained unchanged. He slowly pulled out Zanpakuto from his waist, and said lightly. That's right, I am the guard of the Void Knight Palace, the subordinate Ichukastoban. God of Death, are you here to rescue the girl who was caught by Lord Giles? Tobin raised his finger and asked him. Where is she? Naruto didn't want to talk nonsense at all, and asked him directly, tell me, I'll spare you. Ha ha ha, she's in hell, you should follow along too. Tobin laughed and rushed towards Naruto. Naruto narrowed his eyes slightly, and a dangerous light flashed in his blue pupils. Sudden. A cold light flashed. Kai. Along with Biaofei's blood, Tuobang looked down at his chest in disbelief. I saw a long bloodstain suddenly appeared on his chest. The bloodstain directly separated his body and cut it in half. Naruto's figure appeared behind him, and he slowly drew back his sword and stood without the slightest expression on his face. Tobin's body was directly transformed into a spiritual child, and then absorbed by Naruto's body. Naruto took a deep breath, felt the slightly increased spiritual power in his body, and smiled slightly. Sure enough, killing the virtual in the virtual circle is the fastest way to level up. It's a pity that at this level, the general lower level Ichuka's Daxu can't bring him much growth. The leap to the top can only be achieved by beheading the very powerful Shukai. The gate of Zai Palace slowly opened. Naruto walked in on foot. Palace, it was silent and empty, cold and desolate, with huge Jinchuiki columns standing in the center of the hall, and corridors leading to the depths of the palace. Naruto closed his eyes and released his spiritual pressure. Boom! There was a sudden violent shock on the ground. Gills, a powerful guy is coming over, your tail hasn't been cleaned yet. How should you be punished? In the depths of the Void Knight Palace, on the highest throne, the skeleton Emperor Balagang was watching the one below. With a big name, he said lightly, his tone was not angry and arrogant. Lord Balagang, the other party should be the chasing soldier of the Soul Society, I will send someone to kill him. Giles, who's at the level of Watts Todd, looks like a tall and thin man. A middle-aged man with long black hair said respectfully to Balagang. Humph, no need, let the old man clean him up himself. Bring the god of death you caught too. Balagang snorted coldly, and with a flick of his body, he appeared on the other side. Giles showed a smile on the corner of his mouth and responded, yes. Is it finally here? Naruto muttered to himself after releasing his spiritual pressure. He knew that the god of death fell into Shu's hands, and the result was absolutely tragic, either being eaten or being torn to pieces, suffering endless pain. However, from Lisa's words, Naruto knew that the other party did not eat Nanao on the spot, but grabbed it directly. What exactly is this for? Naruto is unknown, but there must be ulterior motives in it. And if you want to rescue Nanao as quickly as possible, you can only try to alert the king in this virtual night palace, so that they have no time to do anything harmful to Nanao. No matter what conspiracy or purpose the other party has, as long as he enters violently, he can prevent them from continuing to act to the greatest extent. Therefore, after the release of the spiritual pressure, Naruto pulled out the Zanpakuto and suddenly slashed at the building in the Zai Palace. Boom boom boom. Under the powerful Reiatsu sword light, the building was easily split in two, and many Jinchuriki columns around it collapsed. In the case of this kind of destruction, a virtual circle of troops soon surrounded them. You really don't know where to live, do you know where this place is? A voice full of anger came over. I saw a big man with a tall stature appearing in the palace with many big virtuals, and surrounded Naruto in layers. Another Vastord-level void. Naruto frowned, there are actually more Vastords in the Void Knight Palace than he imagined. However, he didn't flinch at all in fear, and shouted coldly, let your virtual king get out. 1038. The Void King. The voice pierced through the void and echoed in the sky above the entire Void Knight Palace. The momentum is so strong that many Daxu can't help but feel for a while. At this moment, Nanao was being grasped by Giles in the palm of his hand. To be honest, she was terrified. It was the first time she came out to do a mission, faced the terrifying Daxu for the first time, and was caught by such a powerful guy for the first time. She had no room to resist at all. Of course she was afraid. Moreover, being caught by these terrifying guys, she also knows that her destiny has almost come to an end, and she has heard countless times how terrifying the existence of Shu is and how Shu eats the god of death. That kind of thought, deeply rooted in her heart, left a terrible shadow. However, now that she has really encountered such a terrifying thing, she can't help feeling sad. Is she going to be eaten by these hateful things in such a place? He still has unfulfilled dreams and a bright future. Facing the fear and unwillingness of imminent death, Nanao did not know how to resist for a while. However, at the end of this despair, the familiar sound resounding in her ears, from the sky above, suddenly woke her up. She was pleasantly surprised to find that this voice was actually the voice of the familiar Naruto big brother. King Shu, hand over Nangsu. Has Big Brother Naruto come to save him? This is really unimaginable. How did he come to such a place, and how did he defeat the enemies in this palace? Many of the guys here are at the level of captains. Hey, listen, that fool has come to save you. Little girl, are you moved? At this moment, Giles said with a smile. Nanao was stunned for a moment. Although she couldn't resist being held by Giles, she showed a look of disgust on her face and said angrily, Big Brother Naruto is a fool, all of you damned guys will go to hell. Hey, go to hell. Are you talking about the fool who called Naruto? Giles laughed, and suddenly whispered in her ear with a very terrifying voice. Tell you some news, that guy if you die, it's you who killed it. Nanao was shocked. Hey, of course a rookie god of death like you doesn't know, you're just a bait to lure him over. No, you bastards. What are you trying to do to Big Brother Naruto? Nanao suddenly screamed, trying to bite Giles' arm. Giles snorted coldly, threw Nanao out with a savage swing, and slammed into the Jinchuriki column with a bang. Little girl who doesn't know whether to live or die. Giles picked her up and held her in the palm of his hand like a chicken, and followed the Void King Balagang to the front hall of Void Knight Palace. That's where Naruto is. At the time of the slump, Chishu felt extremely sad, and she didn't understand what was going on at all, but she knew that she was the bait, and she was the one who seduced Naruto's big brother. In the powerful Zai Palace, Big Brother Naruto has no chance of escaping at all. Big Brother Naruto, you run away. He closed his eyes, Nanao murmured, tears soaking his eyes. But Naruto couldn't hear it. Of course, even if he heard it, he would never leave. Although he didn't know that all this was a conspiracy entangled in him, and he didn't know that all this was being controlled by a mastermind behind the scenes, he believed that no matter how dark the conspiracy, no matter how evil the enemy, could not stop him from rescuing Nanao. Footsteps. Because, this is not only Lisa's request, but also what he has to do as Naruto's elder brother Nanao. Big brother, isn't it just to protect the existence of the little sister? Boom boom boom. Naruto's hand slashed fiercely at the Nawastad-level big man, leaving shallow traces on his arm. Ha ha ha, Grim Reaper, are you capable of that? It doesn't hurt at all to chop. What a rubbish. The big man laughed loudly, and he slammed his fist all over Naruto's body. Swish. In a blink of an eye, Naruto suddenly appeared above the big man's head. It seems that your defense is very strong. If that's the case, then I'll change my method. This is a strength I've never exposed before anyone. Naruto stepped on the big man, and Zanpakuto suddenly fell into the sheath. He raised his fist, and a burst of white spiritual light suddenly flashed from his elbow. White fight. This is not an easy fight for nothing. In the past 3 years, he had already learned from Yi how to apply spiritual power to his body and fists, and, with his own understanding of power, he quickly developed his own white fight. The Reiatsu on the elbow suddenly exploded. And this explosion of spiritual power directly turned into a tyrannical and unparalleled driving force, sent Naruto's fist out, and slammed down on the top of the big man's head. Boom. The fist, which was not covered by any Reiatsu protection, hit the top of the big man's head abruptly in the next moment. What? A scream came, and the whole body of the big man was knocked to the ground by this powerful fist. The ground of Zai Palace was directly cracked into rubble, and the entire hall was shaking as the airwaves rolled. But, damn it, it hurts. The big man stood up staggeringly clutching his head. He was injured when his head was hit, and blood was dripping from the top of his head. He glared at Naruto, his eyes full of incredible. He shouted, "Why does a mere god of death have such a tyrannical body?" Naruto sneered. In fact, he was very dissatisfied with this power in his heart. It stands to reason that this body has completed the combination of spirit and flesh. Even without the help of spiritual power, the body alone is enough to sweep everything. However, he found that when the spiritual power is not strong enough, the power he can exert it's simply not enough to pose a threat to something powerful. In other words, the spiritual power of his current master cannot provide enough power to this special body. Therefore, even if the body is tyrannical and even the power of space can be ignored, but without the support of strong spiritual power, this body can only exert its ultimate defense power, and it has nothing to do with this limit of defense power. Matching attack power at all. To achieve this level, it must be done when the spiritual power is strong enough. 1039. Fierce Battle. He, this old man has opened his eyes today. A mere god of death has such a strong body. It's actually harder than a virtual body. At this moment, an old and majestic voice came from not far away. Immediately, Naruto felt a rotten and dark aura coming towards him. Looking around, he saw a huge figure in front of him pressing down like a hill. The human-shaped skeleton with the golden crown on its head is very large, more than 10 meters high, and the black energy aura is lingering all over its body, giving people a feeling of extreme depression. This is definitely a Vastord-level existence. And it is the absolute powerhouse in the Vastord class. Naruto has his information in his memory, number 210 Blade Skeleton King, Balagang. The ability to control is the power of death, which can make all objects touched quickly age and decay. Lord Balagang, you are here. Seeing the arrival of the King of Void, the big man hurriedly stepped forward to greet him. Go on, let the old man come and meet this guy. Balagang waved his hand. Yes. The big man nodded and retreated according to his words. At this time, Giles also appeared here, holding Neneo's body in his hand, looking at Naruto with a wicked smile. Naruto frowned and his eyes fell on him. Let go of Neneo. Giles smiled and said, that's not good, you must know that you are our prey now. As a prey, you are not qualified to put forward conditions. Naruto narrowed his eyes slightly, and his body exuded an extremely dangerous aura. Okay, I haven't moved my body for a long time, let's play with you today, I hope your body doesn't rot immediately. Skullland laughed and waved his hand, and everyone around him immediately made room for the two of them. Get a lot of space. Lord Balagan, you don't want to kill him all at once. Giles laughed. I hope so. Balagan laughed. In their words, Naruto seems to be already dead. However, Naruto knew that none of the guys present could put him to death, but it would be very difficult, almost impossible, to kill them himself. So, the only thing I can do now is to find an opportunity to rescue Neneo. The only breakthrough was the Shu who was holding Neneo. Naruto draws Zanpakuto again, and this time, he goes straight into Shikai state. Let's dance, Uzumaki. Boom. A powerful spiritual pressure burst out in an instant. With Naruto as the center, the white spiritual pressure formed a hurricane that rose into the sky. The entire Void Knight Palace was almost broken through, and a big pit appeared directly on the spot. Naruto was full of spiritual energy, and his powerful breath was even stronger than before. Oh, Shikai's strength has increased so much. It's about to catch up with you, Giles. Balagang was slightly surprised. Giles was also obviously surprised. Yes, it is indeed difficult to deal with this level of Reiatsu. However, Lord Balagang must be very easy for you. Balagan smiled lightly, and he just waved his hand lightly. The next moment, a black aura of death rushed towards the place where Naruto was, and along the way, all objects encountered were instantly turned into dust and disappeared. This is the power of aging. Naruto did not block, and the next moment, his figure suddenly disappeared in place, and when he appeared again, he was already behind Giles. Give me Neneo. Naruto slashed Giles, back with a knife. Under the cold light, Giles suddenly turned around and glanced at Naruto with a smile, and then disappeared with a flick of his body. Ring. Your opponent is Lord Balagang, I won't fight you. Giles appeared on the other side of the palace and smiled faintly. At this time, the breath of death rushed towards Naruto again. Naruto's brows were slightly wrinkled, and he stepped aside again, ignoring Balagang and chasing Giles directly. Humph. You dare to chase others when you are fighting with the old man. Are you underestimating the old man? Balagang shouted angrily. The aura of death instantly became faster and more urgent, and suddenly accelerated, surrounding Naruto heavily. Damn, sure enough, the current strength is not enough to fight against the kings in the virtual circle. Naruto scolded inwardly. Giles' strength and speed are not inferior to himself at all, and it is very difficult for him to catch him. Not to mention that there is still the king of the virtual circle, Balagang. In addition, the forces of the entire virtual night palace should have surrounded this place now, right? No matter what you do, you are already in a passive state. However, he will never give up the rescue because of this. Nanao is still in Giles' hands. Big brother Naruto, run away. Leave me alone, you can't beat them. At this moment, Nanao finally woke up from his previous sluggish state, and when he saw the scene in front of him, he couldn't help screaming loudly. Hearing Nanao's voice, Naruto was in a more urgent mood. He performed the fastest shunpo, after all Giles again and again, but was avoided by Gil's Kanken again and again, and the Balagan behind him also kept moving again and again. Pursuing, the breath of death is like a gangrene attached to the bones. No matter what, it is difficult to shake off. It can't go on like this. Giles' strength is obviously the strongest among the Vastords. It is very difficult to catch him, and Balagan is chasing after him. In the end, he will only be exhausted and he will be caught by them. It would be bad to live. Thinking of this, Naruto suddenly stopped. As soon as he stopped, the breath of death drowned his body. Oh, did this guy give up his resistance? Or does he have no strength to chase? This is terrible, Lord Balagan, you killed him in one fell swoop. Giles looked at the aura of death said. No, big brother Naruto won't die. Nanao cried out in grief. Hey, he's only capable of this, it's really bad. Giles shook his head and sighed. Suddenly, an ethereal chant came from the black aura of death. The thunderous carriage gap of the spinning wheel, this thing has light cluster and divide into 6. The 61616 Jinchuriki column light prison. 6 paths suddenly appeared beside Giles, locking his waist in place with lightning speed. 1040. Escape smoothly. What? This is... Gilston was startled and struggled. However, after Naruto chanted the ghost way, how can it be so broken? I saw the next moment, a figure suddenly rushed out of the black death aura, appeared in front of Giles, and slashed his arm with Zanpakuto. Kai. The blood arrow flew up, Giles screamed, and his arm was directly chopped in two. Naruto reached out to catch the flying Nanao and held her in his arms. However, at this time, Naruto's body was corroded by the gas of death before, and the clothes on his body had long since disappeared, and he was standing there naked. Big brother Naruto. Nanao was still shocked. Naruto smiled lightly, turned his head to the stunned skeleton Emperor Balagang and said, Goodbye, I'll have a good time with you next time. Swish. In a blink of an eye, Naruto disappeared. Follow me. Balagang was very annoyed, but he didn't expect that his proud ability would not work against him. Even if he was careless, he even cut off one of Giles's arms. Not to mention saving people under his own eyes, he also injured his own subordinates. Hateful. Unforgivable. Balagang was furious, and immediately led a large group of virtuals to pursue. And Naruto couldn't care about anything at the moment. He held Nanao in his arms, and started to escape at the fastest speed. The spirit of death in Balagang couldn't hurt him, and it was precisely because of this that Naruto made them appear careless for a moment, and then used the ghost way to rescue Nanao from Giles' hands. However, he is not out of the woods yet. The powerful spiritual pressures behind him were chasing after him, and it was difficult to get rid of them at all. At this moment, Nanao in his arms suddenly pulled out a tool from his body. Big brother Naruto, use your spiritual power to open this. Is this a tool used by the Soul Society to travel through space? Naruto couldn't help but look surprised when he saw it. So you're still hiding something like this. That's great. Naruto brought it over and quickly entered his spiritual power. Suddenly, a crack appeared in the original space, and Naruto quickly jumped into the crack with Nanao. In an instant, the surrounding scene changed and entered the boundary. This is a transitional space that must be passed through to connect Soul Realm and other spaces. Of course, there are other ways to directly reach Soul Realm or another space without going through here. It's finally safe. Naruto couldn't help but let out a slight sigh. If he didn't have the shuttle tool Nanao carried with him just now, he could only run around in the virtual circle with his strength, unless he waited for someone to rescue him. Or find a way to return to the Soul Realm by yourself. It seems that I will have to spend time to learn how to freely shuttle between two sessions in the future. Mind-blowing thought. Thank you, big brother Naruto. At this time, Nanao, who was in Naruto's arms, said to him gratefully. Naruto smiled slightly. Thank you, what should I do to save you? When Nanao heard this, he suddenly burst into tears. Ooh, I'm sorry Naruto bro, if I hadn't been caught by them, I wouldn't have let you take risks to save me. I heard them say, it's a bait used to lure you into the bait. I was really scared to death at the time. Bait. Naruto couldn't help but froze for a moment. Hearing Nanao's cry, he suddenly had a bad idea in his heart. You mean, all this is to lure me over? Yeah, that guy named Giles told me. Naruto frowned. The virtual circle actually has such a scheme against itself. What is going on? You haven't appeared in more than 100 years. As soon as you enter the virtual circle, you are directly targeted. In that case, if he didn't have this invincible body, wouldn't he have died? Not simple. All this is not easy. The figure of Aizen subconsciously appeared in Naruto's mind. It seems that you have to be careful when you go back. Thinking like this, Naruto took Nanao through the Broken Realm and returned to the Soul Realm. Because the clothes on his body have been damaged long ago, and it is very unsightly to be naked now, but Nanao can't help Yuhi's face at such a young age. Naruto had no choice but to put her in Jingling Court and let her go back by herself, and then he flashed back to the 2nd Division team building at the fastest speed and changed into a suit. Fortunately, he was fast enough along the way, so that he was not discovered by everyone. Get everything in order. As soon as Naruto went out, he met Yaiki who heard the news. Her face was slightly anxious, with a look of concern. Seeing that Naruto had returned to the Soul Realm safely, she couldn't help showing a hint of joy, and asked, Naruto, I heard that you encountered trouble in the virtual circle. What's the matter? Naruto just told her about it again. It's really Naruto, your actions are so dangerous. Going to a place like Zai Palace to save Nanao alone, I can't even imagine it. You can actually come back alive, it's really amazing, unbelievable. Yi exclaimed in surprise. Naruto smiled and said, Fortunately, I learned the fastest speed in the Soul Society from you, so that I can successfully rescue Nanao and escape back, otherwise I will not be able to return. Under that circumstance, you were able to escape back with your speed. It seems that your speed has really taken off. Yi said with a smile. Oh, by the way, how is Lisa Yahomaru of the 8th Division? Naruto asked again. Yi was stunned for a moment, then nodded and said, when she was sent back, she found that her body was seriously injured, but you don't have to worry, now she has been sent to the 4th Division for treatment, and she is temporarily out of danger. She got the news from you over there. That's fine, then I'll go see her first. Well, let's go, this time you saved Nanao eyes, the 8th Division owes you a favor. Yi smiled and waved his hand. Naruto smiled lightly and walked away. Lisa has been sent back to the 8th Division for training, and Naruto's visit was immediately met by Jingle Chunchui in person. When he came to Lisa's room and saw her covered in bandages, Naruto couldn't help but asked, Liza, how are you feeling? Is it Naruto? Lisa said in surprise. Yeah, I'll take a look at your injury. Naruto walked to the bed and looked at Lisa, the girl wrapped in white bandages.